Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
What is up, everybody? What's up, y'all? Welcome back. We are in here with another one. We are joined by Mike from Mike Invents Perkins. Shout out to you. Welcome aboard. Shout out to those of you that made it in, dropped a comment. I see Uneducated Lame, E-Black, Just Being Jazzy, podcast clips and crafty ideas. Shout out to all of y'all that made it in bright and early, whether you're catching it live or you're catching it when it's uploaded. Make sure you hit that like button, but let's get ready to go. Let's get it. I see some more people just made it into the building. Shout out to Brenda Muema. I think I finally say her name right. And Men's Daily Advice and Encouragement channel. Shout out to you. Appreciate you coming on through. Yesterday, did a Sunday stream with one master teacher. It was definitely a banger. Definitely a good one. Shout out to Richie's dad. That's weird. Says, "Oh my good sir." Definitely a banger. A quick recap of that. Well, Mike, you were shout out to Hood Server to see you down there. You were in the audience, man. What was your any thoughts, any takeaways on that? A lot of good information got put out there by one master teacher. Definitely a very, very sharp brother. So yeah, what's your thoughts, takeaway on yesterday's live stream?
Yeah, well, 1MT is always very, very interesting. I just recently kind of got into 1MT with all of the the passport. I wouldn't say hate, but concern. Obviously, you know what I mean. With Courtney Michelle, Richie from Zoom to Thailand, and Alan Obi. You know what I mean. I just recently got introduced to him, and he seems to be a very practical guy. And all the information that he gave, and even some of the stories that he told, was they were very good because it's actual practical stuff you can use. I mean, making sure that your job is remote. I mean, that sounds like a very small thing, but having a remote job that allows you to kind of travel, your money goes with you. You're not bound, to the US. Taking your money over to a place like Colombia or Brazil or whatever, your dollar here, when you take it over there, is worth sometimes 3 times more. That kind of information is like stuff that, I mean, you kind of think about, but you just never kind of put it together. And I like that he's a guy who's like in it, that can speak to it and sort of like dispel all the mythology behind dudes just going over there just to get, prostitutes and things of that nature. Because I think that kind of talk is just, it's unproductive, because it's really just it's just not the truth for the most part. You know what I'm saying? And the more and more I listen to the guys like 1MT, like your, you know what I'm saying, Richie from Zuna, Thailand, and people like that, the more and more you get kind of like, and even like Yoga that was in there. I've heard him a few times. And of course, you know, Pablo Fresh
Oh
Cabar.
yeah.
It was always good. You know what I'm saying? It's always good to hear him talk. More and more you listen to those guys, the more and more it's just like, yeah, it's just normal. You know, it's more normal than it is kind of like this weird cult like thing. They're just actual regular black men who actually made good decisions financially, and allowed themselves to kind of like branch out, open their dating options. They're doing what they're doing, and you know what I'm saying, they're having a good time, a good safe time, and they're not hurting anybody, obviously, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I like how you said it's not like some cult like thing, because the fact of the matter is, like, sometimes online things can seem like that, but but overall, this is my general takeaway with other groups of men. Yes, it's some men who, they marry within their race, they stay in the States and they live their life and blah, 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 have a family. And it's some of them that go travel and do this and do that and, do their thing. And they may get with a chick over there and stay over there, may bring a chick back here. Either way it go, they making their money typically mostly here in America and stimulating the American economy. So it's like they still a part of their community, I mean, it's like, so,
Right.
but I don't know why we do put an overemphasis on you're not in the community unless you're attached at the hip to a black woman. It's like, so that's a weird thing that we do. That's a weird thing that we do. But yeah, I like it more from the perspective of like black men just getting to the point to where like just the regular shit that other Western men do, we engage in that as well, because that's what Western men do. We can talk all our African roots and put our fist in the air, but at the end of the day, we are men of the West. We've been here
Right.
umpteen generations. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But
They
go ahead.
it's always funny how the only way to be pro black is if you're literally having sex with a black woman. It seems
Yeah.
like that's the bar. You know, you gotta have sex with a black woman in order to be like, even with the Mr. Let Go, and I'm probably gonna reference him like a couple times or
Oh
something.
shit.
Now, it's not hate. The brother is a good brother. I wish him roll to a million. Roll to a million for Mr. Let Go. But but he had a Freudian slip, whereas he said, have sex with these baby mamas. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I get it. Because to him, and just like everybody else, that's pro-black. It's pro-black to be sexually attracted to black women. You know what I mean? And that's like to me, when I listen to that, it's just like, well, no, that's not actually, I mean, that's part of it, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I guess on a smaller scale, but like, there's no infrastructure or, cultural contract as we're going to get into today. There's no cultural contract around it. It's just, yeah, have sex with a black woman and be with a black woman and do stuff for a black woman, and then you're pro-black.
Yeah.
That's pro-black. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can still be pro. You could be, as long as you're doing all that, you could be selling crack to the kids. You still pro-black. If you if you're having sex with a black woman, you're still pro-black.
My pro-black card is stamped.
Yeah. But shout out to Theo Waff in the building. Says, yeah, we travel all right. SYSBM for the win. Says, my best friend is a passport. Shout out to Theo in the building. Do appreciate you coming on through. Shout out to you. Like, I guess we'll segue into the conversation. I kind of like what Brenda said right there. I have come to a realization that community is a mindset. We may get into that, but overall, this topic is one that you came up with that I thought was a real good one, that's been kind of touched on in this space. I don't know, I couldn't think of anybody who really just deep dived into the whole notion, the idea of the black community needing a new social contract. I mean, but it definitely has been touched on quite a bit in this space. So let me know from the, where you generally coming from with the concept, that idea, that notion, the black community needs a new social contract. And I love the sub question, the who will be the casualties of the new black community. That's even more interesting. So we're gonna get into that. But go ahead and set up where you're coming from with
Okay.
this.
So the obvious setup, I mean, there's been a lot of conversations in the space with, you know what I'm saying, the good brother Alan Obi, the good brother Mr. Let Go, and you know, maybe a little further back, dear future wifey. Is that his name?
Yeah. That's
Yeah. It seems like you regret that. It seems like you regret that interview.
well, it wasn't it wasn't exactly an interview. It was just
Oh,
I was,
you know what? It wasn't. You were reacting to something, and then he pulled up.
and then he pulled up. Yeah, so I was like, oh shit, he in the chat. Come on up. And
Yeah,
so no, I love that. I love that. I like, because most people won't even come out the clouds. You know, they so I like that he was listening, and he pulled up, and he, you know, spoke his piece, and you know, he he kind of backtracked on some stuff and kind of danced and hopscotched around a little bit. But I like the fact that he wasn't scared to get in the ring. He wasn't scared to get in the ring. So I respect him for that. So
right.
yeah.
And Game Changer's question before he got out of there is like, okay, you know all of these women, you got all of these women, you have 80,000 followers. Why aren't you dating any of them? Like, you know, and it's just like, oh no, they're not for me, they're for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get them. I'm gonna get something.
I ain't putting up with these bitches for real now. I'm just talking shit on the internet. Yeah,
So
that's y'all problem.
problem. But like when you listen to guys like that talk, they typically give you a destination, i.e., a community. Marry these baby mamas. We need to come together. We need more black marriages, so on and so forth. But they never kind of address the actual issue of a social contract, which sort of makes, for example, Indian marriage. You know what I mean? Indian, Asian, Indian. You know what I'm saying? If you ask a young lady from Canton, Michigan, because we have a lot of Indian, you know, Indian community in Canton, Michigan. If you ask an Indian woman in Canton, Michigan, or a Indian woman in San Francisco, California, or Indian woman in actual India about the order of operations for marriage, family, money, things of that nature, they probably all give you the same answer. You know what I'm saying? About the same answer, even though those women who are from the US are from the US, they probably have most of their customs and things with them when it comes to the States. If you ask two sisters who are twins from the same household, black, you know what I'm saying? What are the order operations for marriage, kids, money, and family? They're going to give you two separate answers, and most of it is going to be, well, it just depends on what works for them. And then we look at things like the Will Smith situation, whereas it was said, you know, amongst, you know, it was rumored that they had a open marriage, and it's just like, well, yeah, if that works for them. You hear most women and some dudes say, well, if that works for them, that works for them. But it's just like, that can't work, because if that's the bar, then you know that sort of presents, you know, a lot of messiness, no order, no structure, you know what I mean, or anything like that. And what really prompted it was the conversations that you were having with Obi, Mr. Let Go, and the, you know, the conversation you had far back with old dude, Hello Future Wifey. And sort of thinking about those conversations, I was thinking about like Ed Anderson is actually one of the ones who say we don't have a social contract, we need a social contract. Let me say that first. It's not like my concept or anything like that. And like BGS is mentioned, of course, and even having those guys on here, I listen to a lot of what it is that you do it, obviously. So the main things that I came up with, you know, with regards to what the social contract should entail, it should be talking about how we do money, like business, housing, things of that nature. It should be talking about family, moms, dads, you know, saying kids or whatever. It should be talking about marriage, order of operation. What do we do in divorce? You know what I'm saying? And kids with regards to like schooling, upbringing, and things of that nature. What do we do with those things? Okay, so the biggest thing, the one that we always talk about, is like marriage, relationships. That's the biggest thing that we always talk about. We get a lot of times where people just do what works for them. A lot of our marriages are ending like in 5 years. We'd at least marry, you know what I'm saying, community. A lot of the things that we want in marriage, you know, are, I think, basic, but I think what we have is we have our women kind of wanting a little bit more in the bargain than they should probably, you know, I mean, then they should probably get. I mean, we've seen, you know, plenty of Kevin Samuel shows where you have baby mamas of 4 asking for dudes that make $100,000 and things of that nature. The ridiculousness. I mean, and even with I saw the Kendra G show just the other day. She had a woman on there that was like literally had the dude she just had sex with in the
yeah.
I'm like, and then she wants a man like a good guy. It's just like, come on, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like, I think that's the main thing that I'm approach, really the relationship part. You know what I'm saying?
Just real quick, I just heard I was listening to it was actually a premiere. It probably was something that I believe Angry Man probably talked about last night. I didn't hear it last night, but I think he take parts of his show and make it a premiere in the morning. I'm not 100% sure what he's doing nowadays, but I did duck in there. And I heard him say something that was that was pretty damn profound, where he referenced two things that that sort of got drawn some parallels with the Kendra G situation, where the chick was talking about she want a good guy and want this and want that, and then right when she's talking all that, Pookie and a wife beater just walking by in the background.
Yep, and then she's
hold on, but real quick, one thing Angry Man said, well, two things he referenced. He referenced the TV show and he referenced the a rapper, I think it was 38 Special. I think he said something along the lines of, a girl broke up with him because said he wasn't the one, and then 2 years later she pregnant by a bum, and it's like, and then he also said that it was a show called Vikings. I think I watched season 1 and season 2 of that, where one of the dudes, he was a king, but he wasn't a king of all the kingdoms. He wouldn't like the head king of everything. And the chick told him, I'll marry you if you were the king of all the kingdoms, basically. And then so he tried to answer the call, so to speak. He was like real close to becoming king of all the kingdoms, like within 2 years. And then he's talking to her, and then she's sitting there telling him that, she's angry way he explained it. He was like, she's trying to cut him off and explaining that she's married, and he was like, oh well, shit, to who? Who is this guy? You thinking it's going to be somebody else who's in line with being the king of the kingdom, but no, he's married to an earl, to just some regular, just some regular dude on the pecking order, on the hierarchy. So it turns into a situation where it's gaslighting all the way to high heaven that they do in these conversations, where they got you thinking. And go back to what you said about how they the asking price within the scheme of our social contract is verbally too high, as they explain it. They explain a ridiculously high asking price, but the fact of the matter is they're doing that shit we saw on Kendra G all the goddamn time. So it's just like one big gaslighting ass conversation. But I went off on a tangent on that, though. You was talking about the social contract. Well, go ahead and wrap up whatever. Go ahead and wrap up whatever point you was trying to make on the Kendra G thing. But I did want to point that out, because Angry Man made some real good points when I had to go in there and check that out.
He always does. The thing that like I was saying that, we both want things out of relationships. You know what I'm saying? In relationship at the highest order, of course, is your marriage. What a lot of times we find is that men are asking for kind of reasonable things. I like the way that Kevin Samuels put it. It was very, very, straight and to the point, fit, friendly, feminine, cooperative. That's very like straight and to the point. It doesn't say anything about looks. You don't have to be a 10. You don't have to be, an 8 or a 9 or anything like that. Fit, friendly, feminine, cooperative. You know what I'm saying? Those are basic things, some basic things that men want, I think, across the board. You know what I mean? I think if, we have like 209 countries in the world. So let's just say 200 nations. If we ranked our women particularly in those 4 categories, I think they would be among the bottom. Probably, you know what I'm saying? Certainly in fitness, they're the most overweight in America. America's the most overweight nation in the world. You know what I mean? Cooperativeness, check me. You can't check me, boo. You know what I'm saying? Nobody gonna tell me what to do, so on and so forth. So the things that we're asking for are kind of like reasonable and universal. What women actually want, or what men actually present as their value proposition, is protection, provisions, and leadership, which again, you know, that I think that that's reasonable. I think that when you get to women, they all want, to use like a quarterback analogy, I think they all want, you know, Russell Wilson literally and figuratively. You know what I'm saying? They want the top guy with a Super Bowl and who's going to take care of all their kids. And that's really, you know, again, that's when you get to the point where it's just kind of like an uneven value proposition. So that a basic thing that I came up with regards to the actual like social contract, if you are a guy and you have your basics taken care of, the four walls, you have, you know what I'm saying, a roof over your head, you have a job with insurance and a car to get back and forth, you can take care of your basics, you know what I'm saying, you are now eligible for a woman. The basic things, you know what I'm saying? It's not, you don't, it's not 6-figure guy, because everybody doesn't get, somebody got to get Baker Mayfield. You know what I mean? Somebody has to have a quarterback that's not necessarily the greatest, but he is a quarterback nonetheless, and they respect the position.
Rex Grossman won a Super Bowl with the damn Chicago Bears. I mean, come on.
You know what I mean? Everybody doesn't get Tom Brady. Everybody can't get Deshaun Watson or whatever. Everybody can't get the best. There's a top 15 and there's a bottom 15. It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't get the top quarterback. You get a guy who is serviceable. Now, now for women, according to your ability to be fit, friendly, feminine, and cooperative, you get a man based on that, your ability to do that. So if you are fit, friendly, feminine of the highest order, you do get the best quarterbacks. You do qualify for the best quarterbacks. And it's a basic thing that across the board we need to understand. You know what I'm saying? And like, if you do get women who are not like, and I think I kind of, because I don't want to go into the next question until I kind of address all of this part. But
we'll go bit by bit and we'll work our way to the second part of the question. But yes, SKC, do definitely want you to join the convo on this one. Definitely want you to join the convo on this one. He says might want to join the convo. Part of SYSBM is building a new social contract. So absolutely. And shout out to Silent Lamont in the building, dropping $2 on it. Shout out to you. Do appreciate you coming on through. And true to form, I can't find it. True to form, I cannot. There we go.
These last $2, I'm not gonna lose.
Shout out to you. Appreciate you coming through, dropping something on it. But yeah, so you were talking about the things. Well, you prefaced it by saying, if you ask, let's say, I don't know if you said an Indian. What type of race you referred to? Some type of race.
I say Indian.
Yeah, the Indian. You said it's a lot of them in what did you say? Canton,
Michigan. That's probably like 10 miles, 10, 15 miles outside of Detroit.
Yeah. And so you said it's a lot of Indians out there, and you ask them. You ask them. When you talking about the Indians with the dot, not the feather. The actual Indians, the Indians from India. You talking about them?
Yep, Indians from India. Yes.
Yeah.
If you ask them what is their order of operations with regards to marriage, you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, there's a thing that I know. They don't move in with boyfriends, they move in with husbands. You know, that's one thing that I do know. So they don't get a house together and do all the things before the marriage. The daughter stays with the father up till everything is done properly. Like, even the way they do business, like, you know, me working, you know what I'm saying, for a financial institution, I know a lot of them own like your hotels and motels. You know what I mean? Like, the way they do everything is kind of uniform. You know what I'm saying? Everything is super duper uniform. So if you ask one that is in the States or if you ask one that's in India, they all operate kind of the same way, which allows for them to have some uniformity and success. You know, so that's the thing that we have to, and from a relational standpoint, we have this just do what works for you attitude about it. And it doesn't present any, like, you can't be successful that way. You know, there's no possible way for you to be successful. So, like, again, getting back to the idea of men's value proposition versus women's value proposition. If in any way, shape, or form you mess up that value proposition, if you're a dude, you go to prison. You can't, you know what I mean, get a job or whatever, then you don't qualify. You know what I'm saying? Which speaks to the casualties or whatever, but you don't qualify. If you're a woman and you let yourself go, you know what I'm saying, from a physical standpoint, hey, like that's unfortunate. You can't get back, but you don't qualify. You know what I'm saying? If you're unruly, uncooperative, out of order, you don't qualify. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the things that we need to understand about it, the social contract, is that it needs to be ironclad and there needs to be no wiggle room in order for people to say, well, I was young. You know what I mean? Or, well, you got to understand my story. You know what I'm saying? Or this, that, or, or you'll have situations where it's like, and like I say, looking at Kendra G's show, not now as compared to when it was like, before Kevin, like pre Kevin Samuels post, Kevin Samuels being on the actual show. Her show is not really all that different. It's just that now it's more popular and you get a lot of ratchetry that just goes on there. And it's like, that's the norm. Her show is just, it's a shit show. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of women. I mean, it's some dudes on there. She had like a dude on there that lied about his age. I think, who was that? Little Big Nate went over that show. And I mean, it was a good, his show was a good show. That show with Kendra G was horrible. It was pretty bad. But you get a lot of this being the norm, whereas you got third and fourth and fifth baby mamas saying, yeah, I'm supposed to get a good man. And it's like, we have to start moving away from allowing that in the new community. If, because the one main thing that I would say about Obi, you know what I'm saying, Mr. Let Go, and my future, hello, future wife.
Yeah, dear future wifey. That's
dear future wifey. Dear future wifey. You know what I'm saying? I mean, dear. All right. Is that they don't talk about casualties. They never said these people won't make it. You know what I'm saying? You got Mr. Let Go saying we got to marry some of these baby mamas. Like, dude, that's not, I don't, that doesn't compute to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't start a community based on the idea of being with people who've made decisions. Now, granted, we call baby mamas here women who had kids out of wedlock and then they're just single, versus, you know what I'm saying, you have kids out of a marriage and then you're just a single mom. You're a single mom. You know what I'm saying? We understand how to make the differentiate, how to differentiate the two. But like the idea of there being no casualties and everybody can go, dude, it's probably going to be, it's 40 million of us, 40 plus million of us. It's probably going to end up being 20, less than that if we actually get to the actual, thing.
Now, let me ask you this about the baby mamas, because an interesting thing came up, and I've heard this before, and I didn't get that much pushback. I was greatly enjoying 1MT, greatly enjoying 1MT, and I think a lot of the passport bros are on this, and I want to know your take on this when it comes to the whole, getting with a baby mama type of thing, and like getting with them for real, not just smashing, but actually being with them, helping her raise her little, snot nose, big-headed kids, and then whatever. They're of the view that if despite her having that child, if she still manages to be fit, feminine, friendly, submissive, cooperative, and do everything right, if she sweetened the deal and is absolutely appreciative of you, for them, it's still a go. It's still a go for them. Where are you at on that? Because that's where the passport bros are at. But one thing that I was trying to tease out, but I didn't have necessarily the right people in there, because most of the people on the panel already checked out the game, so they, it was pointless to ask them that. But the people who still stateside and haven't made traveling and passport in their life yet, do you think that could work in the unlikely event, that the baby mamas around here cleaned up their act? Would black men be more susceptible to actually being with them in a serious way? Probably sort of like how it was, 80s, 90s mass incarceration. BGS talked about that, where people talking about black men need to save the community. BGS, he's argued that nope, we already did back when we was because it was a mass a massive amount of men taking care of other people's kids during that time period. There's shit, whatever, however bad things are now, it could have been worse.
Yeah.
So it's like black men are done doing that. But do you think that given the circumstances and the unlikely event that they got it all together, that yes, they got kids out of wedlock, but if they was, sort of like what they describe overseas, if they was fit, friendly, feminine, cooperative, submissive, and 100% appreciative, do you think black men would be willing to jump on board?
This is the thing. Most black men, we have to acknowledge that most black men are kind of blue pill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that giving them a deal that is presentable at this point would probably be like, yeah, we'll roll with that one. You know what I'm saying? So,
They'll take they like on that show Deal or No Deal. It's a lot of money on the table, but they cashing out at $500.
Like I'm out. I'm out. It sounds good enough. You know what I'm saying? But like most people understand that like what we've been, accepting at this point has been substandard. Like people like think about the world, the upside down that we live in with regards to the black community. Sierra is a third baby mama. She's the third. She dated rapper, and ball player, rapper, and then got with a guy, had a baby, and she's the third. There's no excuse for that.
I thought she was further down the line in the middle of his. Future got like 13 baby mamas. I thought she was in the middle. She was the third one.
I think he actually has 9, and she was the third, knowing about the two prior. But even third is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
Third it's unacceptable. I mean, the second maybe, because that happens, whereas you have a baby first, and then you go and you have, another relationship, and then you get married. That happens, you know what I'm saying? But like the idea that you're the third baby mama, which means that this guy didn't marry the other two neither, and he got, impregnated you. And then the rejoicing of black women when she got with a guy that had no kids, successful, money, the quintessential nice guy. She got with him, and everybody's like, yeah, that's a good relationship. I'm like, nah. And it's playing out. She won't stop twerking. I mean, she just won't stop. She can't stop twerking. It's just impossible for her to stop twerking. But we live in the upside down in that sense. If a woman who has had a kid actually was cooperative, submissive, fit, friendly, feminine, and whatnot, and considering the deals that dudes are already taking, dudes would take the deal. But that's how ridiculous it is that dudes, even with them wanting to take a deal, just give me something, is what they're saying. And they're still saying, well, we're going to give you less than that. So I think that if they offered a decent deal, yeah, if they came to the table and was fit, friendly, like I've met women who had kids who just understood. But like, my policy with regards to dating women with kids, you've had to have been married. Because at least order of operations of like, what a husband is. Now even if you weren't the greatest wife, you at least know what the expectation is there. So I think that most guys would take that deal, because what we've been taking is uncooperative, you know what I'm saying? Masculine, you know what I mean? Overweight. Like you see the swim thick thing that's sort of going through that.
Yeah. A lot of people sent me that. Yeah,
I was gonna send it to you today too. You know what I'm saying? I was gonna send it to you. But it's ridiculous.
That water in that pool, they only put like that much water in, and then when all them big ass chicks got in there, that shit was overflowing.
That's 9 feet of water.
they knew not to fill the pool all the way up before all them.
Right.
Chicks got in there. But hold on, real quick. Shout out to Silent Ahmad again. He said regular guys deserve that too. I think he's referring to when he was talking about just the bare minimum basics. Chick, being fit, being feminine, being friendly, not being a bitch. All of that should generally come standard. All that should generally come standard. And shout out to my man Freedmans Journal in the building. He says new old social contract. Shut the fuck up. Have my babies, make my food, keep our home clean, and I'll do the rest. That's a new old social contract. What you're describing? what he's describing. I don't. I sound like he came with that STFU. Okay, what does that stand for? Shut the what
fuck.
does STFU stand for?
Shut the fuck up. I mean,
Okay.
I would assume he's saying me, but even if he is saying me, I'm saying that's fine. These guys aren't talking about any of this stuff. They're not talking about any of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like the Obi Allen's Mr. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I assume he's talking to me. But
I'm trying to figure out who. I mean, he said some stuff that we agree with here. That you agree with here. Yeah, have my babies, make my food, keep our home clean, and I'll do the rest. Yeah, I mean that's so. It's like he's agreeing with you, saying shut the fuck up, or I don't. So clarify what you're talking about, Freedman's Journal, what you're talking about, or who you're talking to. I'm look confused by the energy of the first part of the sentence.
Yeah, it's all good, man. It was, but the idea, like what I was about to say is that it's funny how that whole thing was super duper crowded. It was only 15 people there. But anyways,
okay.
That
there you go. It shut the fuck up. It was directed at modern women. Okay.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, cool.
Got it. My bad. It's still early. I need to finish the coffee. My bad.
Right now, I just finished my orange juice and get my mind right.
Yeah. We good. We got it. Thank you.
Yeah, but with the fit friendly feminine, like I say, what we're accepting has been substandard. You know what I mean? It's been substandard, and masculine women, nothing close to femininity. I mean, just the idea of being kind, like Christian Hutchison, who you know what I'm saying is he said he's from the Detroit area, so from Detroit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He told a story on Ed Anderson's show, and when he was talking about how he was at a conference, MBA conference downtown Detroit, and he was talking to a bunch of black women, a few black women there, and they were just talking about all of the men that they date. So they were talking about dating Arab men, Mexican men, whatever, white men, whatever. And eventually it was his turn to speak. And he talked about, he has a Chinese wife. And they looked at him crazy,
wow.
like, man, you got a Chinese wife. What's that about? So they asked all the questions that black women typically ask in these situations. Why, where did you meet her? Blah, 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 whatever. And they asked, like, how did they meet? And his story was super duper regular, you know what I'm saying, to me. But he explained that he would work late, so she would take his homework to the professor, and she used to do that. And then they eventually went out on a date, and she was just kind to him. And the black women were like, like they were surprised that all it took was her being kind to him, going out on a date with him, being, pleasurable to be around. And then that's how I chose my wife. She was kind to me, and eventually, of course, they were dating. So there was some sex involved, but you be kind to a man and you have sex with them and you're in a relationship, you'd be surprised how far that goes. But to them, foreign concept, you know what I mean? And him telling that story, which Christian is he's dope. I mean, he doesn't have a channel that I know of, but he's a dope dude anyway. His story, and he's telling stories from a regular guy's perspective. I mean, obviously he's exceptional at what he does, but he's telling stories from a regular perspective. And he just said she was kind. You know what I mean? She was kind. That's it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of what they don't understand is that being kind is it should be the bar, but just to answer your question again, if they gave an acceptable deal, there are dudes that are accepting horrible deals. You know what I mean? There's a dude that, again, another Facebook thing where there's a guy married a woman with 4 kids. He has no kids. He married a woman with 4 kids, about 4 different baby mamas, 4 different dudes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And he's on there bragging like he won. It's no, you lost. You know what I'm saying? You lost the whole game. So we would take an acceptable deal if it came with a kid, but you gotta be able to come with that acceptable deal, and it's fit, friendly, feminine, and cooperative. That should be the baseline,
Yeah, no doubt. Shout out to I'm gonna say Bob. I think that's what that's supposed to be. No, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Bob. Even though you got that dot in there. Bo B. But shout out to you. He says, if the first place trophy prize is security, marriage, and children, second is the same minus marriage, and last is just a smash and a lobster. I don't know what the lobster got to do with it. I mean, if it's just smashing. All right. We teach his own. Okay, maybe a bit. What? Maybe a bill or two. There's a reason the average is second. So you saying the last place chick is getting bills paid in potentially lobster? See, you're offering too good of a deal to the last place. Okay, I'll take it. The chick that's in last place, I take it. She's not feminine, masculine, out of pocket, not very attractive, not in very good shape, not pleasant to be around chick, and you still talking about she gets a bill or two paid.
Take that off the table.
Bruh.
Yeah, nah.
Bruh. I don't think you understand what's going on here. Like you, you don't understand the assignment right now. Too cool for school in the building says donation for the BRGC Nation, giving us daily high quality work. Shout out to you. I do appreciate it. Too cool for school. He's one of the biggest supporters of the BRGC connection. Yeah, shout out to Too Cool for School. Glad you like it. But when you was talking about the contract, well, I mean, we kind of on in there. You talked about, you said money, family, kids. You said money, family, kids. What in the contract, when you said money, like what was your general thoughts on that, to where money played its part in all of this?
Well, the money part is really like the idea of community. When people talk about community, they just, again, it's always destination. It's really no way to actually get there. You know what I mean? So that, like, the way that we do money is, there's a lot of flash. There's a lot of, a lot of debt. Let's just say, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of debt. And the way that we do money, it's like there's no uniform way of doing it. You know what I mean? Life insurance is like a big deal, you know what I mean? And well, a thing that in the Black community we don't really do like that. But it's like something as simple as we all got to have life insurance. You know what I'm saying? Having life insurance is going to allow for us to have, the generational wealth that we talk about. Because if you have a policy on you and you pass, which is inevitable, you're going to have, your family be left with a good lump sum of money. Understanding how to put it in a, a revocable trust, learning how to talk to the people that you need to distribute it the right way, writing a will, so on and so forth. How we invest. I mean, we need to have things that are very, very like normal. Like I was talking to my brothers, like when I got out of debt, I was talking to them about us like getting out of debt and creating a trust. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying it.
Yeah, getting out of them getting out of debt as well, and us starting a trust, and it being based on us just investing, even $200-$300 a month each, to just kind of like build up something to where this is something that we'll have and we can eventually leave to our kids to do the same thing. Like having some kind of way that we do money, housing, not buying too much house. So you don't buy more house than you can afford. Foreclosures in our community are ridiculous. Like I got a few apps on my phone that alert me whenever foreclosures and things happen. My phone is blowing up because there's a lot of foreclosures, just like I say, and people are buying houses in the wrong market. So we have to have a way to do housing or buying houses and doing wealth. How we do money in marriages. There needs to be like, it needs to be specifically this, the man is the steward of the money. You know what I mean? The man is the steward of the money. This is how it works. You know what I mean? It needs to be specific, because when we do it to where just do what works for you, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And even if we decide that the woman is going to be, of which I remember somebody bringing up that a guy would go to work and then just sign his check over to his woman. Even if that's the way we're doing it, you know what I mean? We need to do it one way and one way only, so that the job and the roles of a woman when she's getting married, she already understands it, and she's not coming into a space where she's just like, well, I want to do this and you do that, you know what I mean? Or just do anything you want to do, you know what I mean? It needs to be some order. So with regards to like money, it's pretty simple. Own the house that you live in, get out of debt, invest, have life insurance, health insurance, you know what I'm saying? And that be the and then everything after that, great. If you own your own business, great. If you want to, do something great, but those basic things, own the house you stay in, get out of debt, invest, have life insurance,
It's the crazy thing about not crazy, but the understated thing about this, a lot of Black people don't realize everything that we call racism, that we blame on racism, a lot of that could be fixed more or less by the things that you said, owning your house and making sure you don't lose it, and having a life insurance policy. When you die, that house that you own, whether it's $100,000 house, $200,000 house, whatever, that life insurance policy, whether it's a $250,000 policy or a $500,000 policy, either way it go, your children, your offspring, if you add all of that up, let alone if you got the 401k pension, all of that stuff going on. But I mean, I understand that's a shaky market nowadays. But either people who do things right, they die and they essentially leave their kids a total net worth value of $1 million if they do it right. If they do it all the way right in terms of property and life insurance and retirement, if they do it right, they could do that, and it's nothing stopping us from doing that. And so, like, us just getting it together on that. And then when we look at that, the wealth gap, where they say, oh, the average white family is worth 20 times more than the average Black family. Like the average Black family, let's just say the wealth, is somewhere in the area of like $11,000. An average white family is somewhere close to $200,000. Like, that's where it's coming from, what we just described. Those are basic things that people could put together and do, and pretty much solve one of the biggest things that all the race hustlers spend a lot of time saying that people are preventing us from doing. Just getting that squared away. And then, like you said, you can go from there and then start talking, business and all of that stuff. I mean, that's where money for businesses come from. Right. That's where money for businesses come from. But so when we talk a lot of shit about generational wealth, I'm like, yeah, it's generational wealth. Like, it starts with you. Like, it don't have to start. It'd be great if it didn't start with you, but it can start with you. It literally could start with you. You can literally leave something behind. Like, you literally could do that, and then that's where it starts. That's where it picks up. But I'm gonna go talk about one more thing before we get deep into the casualties of this, because Black folks, everybody ain't gonna make it. But Dewan Trey's in the building. He says the Black women have clearly and openly stated they are reserving their femininity for men they like. Then why aren't Black men who are not getting this femininity, except they just aren't liked? You want to answer that one?
I think a lot of times, like, again, I start at most men are blue pill. Most men are in so deep into the environment that they don't even know what's going on around them. You know what I mean? To where it's like the idea that a woman doesn't like you and you trying harder and harder to make her like you is the norm. You know what I mean? In our culture, because the woman is the qualifier. You know what I mean? And just the task of telling men, like, hey, that's not how I really work anywhere else. You're kind of the qualifier. The woman has to kind of qualify for you. And look, you don't make it difficult, because we're not difficult. We're mostly reasonable. I mean, saying fit, friendly, feminine, and cooperative, it's not. And we and Black men say cooperative. Most men aren't really saying submission. Like 100% full on submission is really not the thing. So when I hear stuff like that, it makes me think that he's like, maybe I'm not reading tone of this, but it makes me think that he's saying that if they're not liked, it's kind of their fault, kind of thing, of which it is. But why don't they accept it? It's because they're not in a culture that suggests that they should accept it. They should try harder. because that's the problem. Because what they want is not the guy who's 6 feet, 6 foot, saying 6 figures and whatever. They actually want a good guy on the inside. That's what they keep saying, and some dudes actually listen to that nonsense.
Yeah, some guys are gaslit all the way to hell.
Yes.
And I think in this space we do a damn good job at pulling the mask off the Scooby-Doo villain and exposing what's really going on. So when you start saying, why won't they just accept it? I think listening to content like this sort of speaks to what it is. Like what Mike was just referring to. There are some guys out there who literally have that idea, that view of I did everything right. I don't know why things keep going wrong. But so that goes back to the blue pill. So that goes back to people exposing things. I can't put myself fully in the mind, even though well, let me just make sure let me make sure I'm reading it right, because sometimes it is hard to decipher tone in a super chat. But he says, if black women have clearly and openly stated they are reserving their femininity for men they like. And see, I reject the premise on that too. Like I reject the premise on they reserve it. I think women who are feminine are just feminine, and that's just who and what they are. They're feminine and submissive women. I don't think femininity is something that they put in their back pocket. I think it's something that for a guy that they like, they will be sexually submissive and get on board. And but overall, who you are, you're going to be who you are when it's all said and done. So I reject the premise that they just got it in their back pocket, reserving it. No, that's the gaslighting. So it sounds like you, to some degree, have accepted one of their gaslighting arguments, that they're walking around with femininity in their back pocket or femininity in a glass jar. I don't. Man, I don't believe that. I mean, no, even right there, he says, no, Bernard, they are saying this. Yes, they are. But again, that's the gaslighting. If any woman is sitting there saying, no, I'm not going to be feminine for this guy, but I'm going to be with this guy, but I'm not going to be feminine with him. I'm going to be only feminine for a certain type of guy, but you're being with that guy and not being feminine. No, you just a masculine bitch. So that's what I mean by you're accepting their premises too much. I reject all their premises half the time. More times than not, I reject their premises. So, I mean, okay. But anyways, but just reading the rest of it, he says, reserving their femininity for men they like, then why aren't black men who are not getting this femininity, except they just aren't liked? Again, okay, GC asking for the link. I got you, GC. But hold on, we damn, I didn't mean to move that comment off of there. I think a lot of guys have accepted where they rank in the game, in the totem pole. That could be why you're in Mexico. You accepted where you ranked out here, and then you went and moved somewhere else. So I think guys are pretty good at accepting where they rank. So I don't think guys have that problem. Guys get hard-hitting data on where they rank. Like the whole notion of guys need to stay in a lane. No, when we get out of our lane, women let us know real fast that we out of our lane. So we can't be delusional, being average at best, thinking we deserve a Victoria's Secret model. Like we get hard data on where we're at real fast. But anyway, we'll dig into that a little more. But Bob back in here, he says, I understand just fine. Men have to finesse their freedom by offering a bill or food. Most men avoid grape accusations. If she walks away with nothing, she'll have more incentive to ask for hush money.
I don't get that.
Dude, like we're talking about regular folks, like regular men who work at the local plant in the factory and make $50K aren't handing out hush money to stop grape accusations. Like, come on, bruh. You living in an online world. I appreciate the super chat, appreciate the support, but anyway, he says if alimony is incentive for divorce, which it is. If alimony is incentive for divorce, child support, and children, won't life insurance incentivize something else? Just saying, yeah, some movies that cover that topic quite well. It be some women putting sprinkling a little battery acid in the chili, yeah, they be trying to slowly kill them. Just put a little bit of bleach in the spaghetti every day. put a little bit of bleach in the stew every day, just a little bit. You don't want to put too much because they'll find it in the toxicology report. But just a little bit every day, just slowly destroy his organs. That's a thing. That's a thing.
That's crazy. They got the show. Like, imagine the idea of a show. Like, you know what Snapped is, right?
Yeah.
Imagine a show flipped. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was men that were just finally just had it up to here and then just killed their wife. That's Dateline. That's Dateline show, and the guy is a horrible person. You know what I'm saying? But the way they frame Snapped is that the woman has just had it up to here, and then she finally just snapped. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. But one last thing before I put the link out there. You was talking about the kids. You guys said something real good that I don't want to gloss over when you was describing the Indian people in Canton, Michigan, how it was basically what you described is really what and BGS talks about this a lot. The RM, what you know about Barkley boy? That's terrible. That's terrible. What you know about that? You don't know. You don't watch inside the NBA. Cut it out. You talked about how out there they have it pretty much entrenched in their culture that, you know, practically the kids belong to the man. And that's more or less what I was saying, what BGS kind of talked about. Like, that's what patriarchy is. The kids belong to the man. Like, the kid is with the father, and then, you know, and the daughter's going to stay with the father until he hands her off to a dude.
Exactly.
Basically, that's generally how it works. So you talk about in a Black America social contract, which again, we talking about a social contract. The legal is going to trump over whatever the fuck we talking about. Let's make that very clear.
Well, this is the thing. So in some cultures, you know what I'm saying, that are even in America, they don't acknowledge American law.
Well,
they don't get married like that. They don't get married like they get married like for example, like you know, I hate to use him as an example, but for example, do you remember maybe like 2 months ago when Dr. Umar Johnson got married?
Yeah,
he didn't actually get married, obviously, right? Because you can't marry two women. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a real thing.
They just be doing the ceremony, and they
exactly. There's sometimes when they do it that way, whereas it's the ceremony, it's not actually. So they recognize the marriage, like the community recognizes the marriage, even though there's no recognizing of the marriage by the state or whatever. And then they act in the manner that you would be in a, you know, actual marriage. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the state recognize, they don't need the state. They know that they're married. We would have to probably do it that way for a little bit before we actually did American law marriage, because the reality of it is that our women are westernized, Americanized, and they would resort to what they know, which is the obvious thing. You know what I'm saying? The obvious thing, which is I'm going to take this, you know what I'm saying, this American law and use it to my advantage. You know, 97% of alimony payments go to the women, 90% of the custody hearings go in favor of the women, 80% of the divorces filed by them. This is not, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much in favor of them, so they take advantage of that thing. So I think we would have to go through a period where we actually didn't even do marriage, because there's really no benefit to it for a guy to actually get married in this climate. You know, it's just no.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially if you got something. Like if you got some money, or you know what I'm saying, you got a nice I mean, and I'm talking about basic stuff, life insurance, 401k, no debt, house paid for. Dude, get married and then do what? You know what I'm saying? Like what doing after that? So
so it sounds like you're basically saying we got to fix it off the books first.
Fix it off.
Got to fix it off the books, and then maybe then, you know. Well, no, I won't even say maybe then. Simultaneously be working the political side of it, and you know, to get laws changed. So, but overall, fixing it off the books is it's definitely a way to go, because you talk about fixing a problem, but if the law can trump over whatever you're trying to fix, then it's all going to be null and void. But Kristen Hutchinson is saying, yes, Indians, the dad owns the kids, and that's a big part of what a true patriarchy is. That's a big part of what a true patriarchy is. And yeah. So at the end of the day, what we're talking about is, essentially a pseudo patriarchy where it's not coming top down from the government. It's not coming top down from the government. We're talking about men would have to get on board and get on one accord and view things the same way and operate the same way. And women, and this will be an interesting thing. If all black men, and I say all loosely, but if all black men generally got on board and said the same thing and thought the same way and moved the same way, what will the women do next? But let's talk real quick about, because I got people in the back, but I do want to talk about the subplot here when you talk about the casualties of this new black community. Who ain't gonna make it? Who ain't gonna make it?
Well, let's start with the bros, because I think that this is easy, because I think that we all know the brothers that ain't gonna make it. You know what I'm saying? The career crooks, felons, things of that nature. Obviously, they won't make it. The serial impregnators, like, we're very comfortable with often the dudes who are not productive in society in black, America and the black community. We obviously know we get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? And that's really easy. You know what I'm saying? It's easy. I mean, I think that guys understand from just being a man, you have to be a productive male or else you don't get any spoils. You don't get anything. You know what I'm saying? Like I had on my last video that I had, you don't get, no ribs, no rice, no champagne, no more soy sauce. You don't get nothing. You don't get to eat if you don't pay and do what you owe. You know what I mean? So you have to do all of that in order. So those guys who don't fit the having your basics, having life insurance, having a roof over your head, all that, you don't get to go, because you can't provide for a family, obviously. So those guys obviously don't get to go. Serial impregnators, career felons, non-productive, no job, those guys obviously don't get to go. So those guys are gone. Now with the women, this is where it becomes like, that's why I be thinking like most of our women are not going to make it. And when I say most, I'm meaning like 80%. The women who become third baby mamas on down, you can't go. You know what I'm saying? Like, third baby mamas on down, it's just like, you probably weren't in a relationship to begin with. Third baby mama on down, you probably not going to make it. Any woman who has ever made a guy believe that he was the baby daddy and he's not, you can't go. You get put on that Summer Jam screen. This woman is this, and you're gone. You know what I'm saying? Any woman who has ever, hit a man or assaulted a man, like she get put on that Summer Jam screen. This is who she is. She can't go. You know what I'm saying? Any kind of OnlyFans, stripping, anything of that nature. You know what I'm saying? If you're on the internet, thirst trapping, you know what I'm saying? We ain't got time for that. You know what I'm saying? Because we have an image to uphold. You know what I mean? Now, for me, I'm listening to that, and I think the last part, maybe like the thirst trapping on the internet, the OnlyFans, whatever. It's like you're kind of getting into a point where it's just like you're getting the women who are not necessarily in this stripping and porn space, but they're just doing the stuff that be on the outskirts of that kind of behavior. We got to get rid of them. Those are going to be the casualties. Those are going to be the people that don't make it. Any women who is, just naturally unruly. You know what I'm saying? When you get, there has to be an age requirement as well, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? If you can't produce kids, you know what I'm saying? You get to a point where you're 40 and you're single, there has to be something behind that, because you're obviously not, again, I'm not saying, you should be on that Summer Jam screen saying don't ever mess with this woman, but there has to be an age limit on some of this stuff, or age. Would that be minimum? No, it would be limit.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it would
minimum. Okay, limit, minimum. Yeah. Okay, cool.
We want to, like, obviously we want to be over 18. You know what I'm saying? But like, we're talking like 40. You know what I mean? Like, like we don't want to get to a point where it's just like, well, I'm still waiting. It's like, nah, like eventually it has to stop at a certain point, at a certain age. You know what I'm saying? Women are typically not following the, fit, friendly, feminine, cooperative. You can't go, and I think like for the most part, what we would do if men just kind of adhered to that, You know what I mean? As opposed to giving any of that stuff, you know, like stop validating that, stop sexually validating it, stop financially validating it. Oh my goodness, dudes be just giving the whole farm away for these women. If we stop doing it, you would see an environmental change. Like it's a reason why women, you know, and this is an extreme example, but it's a reason why women don't go up to a 50-story building to the top and jump off. It's because they know gravity is real, the ground is hard, and niggas can't fly. You know, they know this. You know what I'm saying? If they knew that baby mama activity was, you know, a definite, you know, a non-starter for getting protection, provisions, and leadership, if they just knew it and they still made the decision, well, they would get the outcome that they get, but they would also eventually be an example of, well, what not to do. Like, for example, with Mr. Let Go, you know what I'm saying? The good brother, Mr. Let Go. He said that he said we should marry them as a means to stop the baby mama problem. Dude, no. Obviously, marrying them doesn't stop them from being baby mamas. That just makes them a married baby mama. You know what I mean? You change the behavior by penalizing baby mama behavior. You know, that's how you change them. You change the environment. Like, for example, there's a lot of stuff going on now with the with inflation and the reset, and you know, interest rates are going up. Do you know how many calls I've been getting, dog? I mean, like, just random calls, random girls I used to kick it with back in the day. Like, you get those calls because the environment is changing. I will give women overall and black women credit. They will adjust if they need to. They will say, hey, you know what? I got to get it together. You know what I'm saying? And I have to change. But we got to change the environment first. You know what I'm saying? So those would be most of the casualties. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, the women will fall off. You know what I mean? If the guys change their you know, change the laws in their minds, as brother Mr. Palmer says.
Right on. Good stuff. Shout out to Ride of God podcast in the building, showing support. Do appreciate you coming on through and coming through on the super chat end. Do appreciate everybody who's supporting the stream. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all hit that like button. We got GC in the building. You was I think you had requested the link in response to a super chat that I don't got saved. I wanted to try to find it. I'll try to pull it up so you can see exactly what it is that you were that you're responding to. But either way it go, you can give us the backstory on it if that's what you came up for. But real quick. Okay. Well, shout out to Bob again. He said, my bad. Last super chat was reply to the lobster and Bill. Yeah, understood. Shout out to you, and go ahead, GC, you got it.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't really going to respond to that, but I will.
Oh, okay.
The super chat, basically, in a nutshell, you don't have to bring it back up, was basically saying that you were wondering if the tone was correct, and it was. It was a way of, in question form, attempting to say that you're not good enough because she don't like you. Listen. That's not going to work with modern manosphere men. It's not. We don't seek our validation through if a woman behaves or if she bestows upon you fake femininity, because that's what it is. If it's conditional femininity, just like you're not conditionally a man, if she's conditionally a woman, then she's not the person for anybody, really. You know, for somebody to withhold their femininity, you know, just in case they like somebody, what, are you ridiculous? That's stupid. That's stupid as hell. I mean, like, would anybody believe a man who says, I'm a man sometimes? Like, oh, no, I'm all man except for when I'm in prison. Like, what the hell is that? Is that how we get down? You know, like, I mean, do men go around saying, I'm waiting for her to show her femininity before I behave as a man? That is ridiculous. So yeah. And furthermore, femininity isn't really expressed only to their mate. Femininity is expressed to really in just her being herself. her being who she is and what she is. Femininity is what you are, not what you do in a favorable circumstances. Anyone who believes otherwise understands and appreciates the fact that she is trying to sell this, which means that she is a girlfriend experience whore. And since I'm not really into girlfriend experience whores, I'm not really into that type of woman. Now, as far as what I was gonna say about to Mike and Vince Perkins about the whole 40 plus and baby mama thing, mega content creators, people who look to grow their channel above all else, they're never going to attack that demographic of women. They're never going to reduce their options. They're never going to make a suggestion to men that are unfavorable to them, because not only are there a large percentage of the population, I'm pretty sure that they're at least half of the female population that's over 40, as well as the ones who are younger and are baby mamas. That's too large of a population. That's too large of a demographic to risk losing just for the sake of the sake. So if it means sending men to the slaughterhouse, and sending men to stepfatherhood or what have you, in order to do that, then that's fine. Now, I do think that the solution for a lot of guys, because there are more capable men than there are cooperative women, is to move to Mexico. You see, Mexico would be a good place for a man that's having trouble sustaining and getting the femininity that he wants from American women. Once you've come to that realization in life that you've been rejected by all 50 states, then most certainly you go to our neighbors to the south. And that would be a good way to find the femininity that you seek.
Yeah, speaking of that, we have the gentleman on the panel who made the super chat that you responded to, that we responded to it. He came up, so I want to give him a little preferential treatment. But real quick, Lord Love Smith says, special salute to Theo, the Kingmaker. I love and you respect you, my guy. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Uncle Stu, the old man on the block, says, supporting the stream. Theo Waff, please email me. Love to interview you, sir. All right. Yeah, I could definitely work that out. But Dewan Trades in the building. Go ahead.
Hey,
you got the floor. You got the mic.
What's going on, Bernard? What's going on, panel, man? Just want to come up here and etch what I said in stone on that super chat.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, I think part of the problem with brothers these days is that they're not taking what's given when they want to solve a problem. Instead, we want to try to interpret things based on our biases, our eternal biases, or whatever we got going on. So if I say something in a super chat, word for word, and I think what Bernard and you, Vince, or whatever,
Mike,
Mike, what y'all were trying to do was trying to interpret what I was saying and see if there was some double speak going on, and it was pretty much plain, and it was just plain, simple and plain, raising the question that if Black women, for example, are stating, making it very clear, you can go to podcasts, you can go to TikTok highlights. I mean, it just is what it is. They're saying that, they're not going to be submissive and this and that and the third, or giving this type of preferential treatment to just any man because that this man is showing interest to them. They're going to do this based on their criteria that they have created for themselves that would deem that man deserving of those femininity qualities. So
let me ask you one question real quick, because
yeah,
when a woman, are you talking about a woman simply rejecting a guy that she's just not feeling, or are you talking about her actually being with the guy, messing with hold on, some background. Hold on.
Yeah.
Are you talking about her just rejecting the guy she ain't feeling, or are you talking about her actually being with the guy and being masculine and uncooperative with the guy that she's dealing with?
I think just the behavior of the quality traits that she was listing that she would offer only in circumstantial situations. I don't want to be saying.
Are you talking about a woman?
I think it cuts across that, basically, Bernard. I think
What
it
do you
cuts
mean?
across those scenarios that you just laid out. I don't want it. You can't really. I don't think you can really box that into
Well,
saying.
if a woman is saying I will only be with a guy who
Well,
meets certain criterias, but any
it's
guy
not
that
about-
meets any guy who meets those criterias that she's going to be with, of course, she's going to be feminine and submissive and cooperative to him.
Correct.
There's nothing wrong with that statement. The problem comes in is that when men talk about the women that they've dealt with and had to get rid of were masculine and out of pocket, they will then turn around and say, well, I'm not going to be feminine and submissive to just any guy. Well, why was you with him anyway if you didn't qualify for this so-called in your back pocket femininity? So it's basically like they're saying they're getting with guys, they're being out of pocket bitches, and they're retroactively making an excuse for it by saying he wasn't man enough. And so I completely reject the premise on that. I think if you're an out-of-pocket bitch, you're an out-of-pocket bitch. Correct. And I think if you're a feminine woman, you're typically a feminine woman. And you're going to be feminine with any guy that you're with. And in the event that you figure out that you can't be, you can't be with him, you're not going to transform into something you're not. You're going to more than likely leave the person. So that's why I'm asking you. Hold on real quick. Hold on. That's why I'm asking you a very direct question. Are you talking about a woman who is getting with guys, dealing with them, and then still being the out-of-pocket chick while with them? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, you can unmute. Hold on. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Before answering that, I would have to accept the premise that you believe that women are these women actually feminine or are they masculine?
I think any chick that is making excuses. I think any chick that is making excuses and qualifiers for not being feminine is more than likely just a not feminine woman. A woman who's feminine won't put those excuses and qualifiers. She will just remain a feminine woman and will just say that no, this particular guy is not my cup of tea. I'm not going to get with him, which is cool, which is 100% cool.
Bernard, if I may, I think that the problem here, the great misconnect that caused the brother to be misguided, is that you believed women just because they said it. You preface what you just said with, they're saying it on TikTok, they're saying it on this, they're saying it on this. I seen a fat ass bitch say that she was a 9. Like, I mean, just because somebody says something, it doesn't mean that it's true. And it doesn't mean that it's not part of a greater deception. Understand this, right quick, brother. Understand this. Women are salespeople. They have a good. That good in this particular instance is their femininity. They are going to try to sell it to you. And they are going to tell you what they need to tell you in order to sell said femininity to you. Think of them as a used car salesman or a used vag salesman. Think of them in that sense. Do you believe everything a used car salesman tell you? I mean, would you? Should you? That is ridiculous. So just to be clear, what you were saying is the equivalent to if a used car salesman said, this car runs for people who are man enough to get it to run. And the car is sitting there with no fucking engine. And you come up and you say, oh, cars run if you're man enough to get it to run. Look at all the car salesmen that says that. That is what you sound like, sir. And I don't think that you realize that you do. Okay. And so
this is the thing, game changer. Okay. And, I'm not gonna try to come at you directly or indirectly, such as you've been doing throughout this panel. I'm just going to address the topic at hand. The thing is, it sounds like that you guys are not. It seems like you're going to play the game with women. If they're going to choose to not be direct or to have this type of character flaw where they're going to say one thing, but then again, they mean something else, and you want to go along with that, that's cool. That's what you want to do. There's other groups of women overall that do not collectively subscribe to that. Okay, so if you're saying like, hey, you know, they're saying that, hey, we're gonna be feminine for or submissive for these guys over here, but when it's this type of guy, we're not, and then you guys are gonna say they're lying, then why would you want to come to the table with people who lie? Why do you want to come to the table with people who are used bad?
Okay, what table are we coming to? I'm curious.
What's the point?
No, I'm curious. So, what did Bernard and Mike say that led you to the conclusion that they were looking to come to a table with a woman who is saying that? The only instance, the only circumstances where this straw woman argument was brought up was when you brought her up. I can see if Bernard and Mike was saying, I am looking forward to coming to a table to a woman who is giving femininity, only under these circumstances. I want to sit down and have a table talk with her, and I hope that this table is red. I can understand if that was what they were saying. They were not. So what you're doing now is you are creating a straw man out of Bernard and Vince as a person who is looking to negotiate with unruly modern women.
That was the premise.
Wait, right quick. I'll let you finish. So you created that straw man of them, and now you're saying, why are you wishing to come to the table? Why don't you do this? As far as like moving to Mexico. And the funny thing is, the really bizarre thing about this conversation is that is exactly what I suggested. That's exactly what was suggested. I just said that men should move to Mexico. I just said that. What the fuck?
And by the way, and like when you even made it personal, said it seemed like Bernard and Vince are going to do this. Like, no, dude, I got a woman and she's very feminine, and that's her default setting, and it's nothing that she pulled out her back pocket when she met me. That's just what she is. Like, so yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. You trying to say something, Mike?
Yeah, and secondly, is that me? Hold on.
Oh wait, hold on. Dewan, I'm not trying to just keep muting you, but you do got feedback. So go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and then just secondly, the part about the casualties or the women that will not make it should have been a clue that we're not talking about those women. You know what I mean?
Boom.
You know what I mean? Like, the people who won't make it will be the uncooperative women, the unfit women, the unfriendly women, like those women won't make it. So the idea that we're saying come to the table with those women, I mean, I'm saying not those women, definitively drawing a line. No, they're not going to make it. You know what I mean? Fourth baby mamas need not apply. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. The casualties of this situation will be the ones that are not fitting the criteria. So I get your point, but like, it is sort of a straw man argument that you're creating in order to just say, and it sounds like shaming when I read it, but I mean, you can say that it's not, but that's just what it sounded like initially, and I believe Game Changers kind of picked up on that as well.
I think it was a general question, right? I was raising a general question. It wasn't directed to anyone at the panel in particular.
You literally just directed it right at me and Mike. You literally
no. How so, Bernard?
Because you literally said our names.
You were asking
and said it seems as if Bernard and Mike are going to, I think, try to negotiate with these women.
No. I never said that. I never.
Okay, what did you say?
I just said whatever that question was. It was a general question, typed out, being raised to everyone. That is it. Now,
no, I was talking about why you were on the panel. Why you were on the panel?
When I brought your names up, that was saying, hey, I think you guys were trying to interpret. What? I'm sorry.
I don't know what that was or who that was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I was basically saying this was me. You guys were reading my question and you were trying to interpret whether or not it was like, hey, I don't know what's the tonality of it, where he's coming from. That's what I was mentioning in reference to that. I wasn't saying that the question was directed to you guys.
Okay. Here in general was the question, and that is why don't men accept the premise that the reason that they, and I'm paraphrasing because Bernard don't have it up, but why don't men accept the premise that the reason that they're not feminine is because they don't wish to be feminine for that particular man? And I think that I answered that when I say what they say is bullshit. If they're doing that, then they're just generally not feminine. And the reason that they're not feminine is because they're not feminine. So the question was asked and answered. However, the shame wasn't received, and that's why we're still having this discussion.
What was the shame coming from again, Game Changer? I'm not sure because I missed that part. So
the shame was an attempt. Question. Well, okay, I'll explain it to you. The shame was an attempt to make.
All right, this is troll.
The shame was an attempt to make.
I'm putting that flag out there.
Hold on, Ed.
There's an extraordinary delay.
That's Ed. Ed got some feedback.
Delay and yeah. But no. So the shaming tactic was to say the reason that the women aren't feminine is because the men generally aren't worthy of femininity. That was the attempt to shame.
Based on what was,
based on what was said in your comment.
Take the question entirely, right?
Yeah. And I know that, it's safe to try to say, oh, no, what I actually meant is this, kind of like Will Smith, like, oh, yeah, I was in a fog or a haze or something like that. But no, the truth of the matter is it was a blatant attempt to shame brothers for saying, like, if you're not receiving femininity, it's because it's your fault. Because
so you're just going to double down on that. And then as I'm clearly stating over and over that this was a general question that was raised.
It doesn't matter if it's general. It doesn't matter
on what women stated.
No.
Continue to strew my words. And I think that's a point of that you're breaching what a man's words are and what he stands on. I etched that in stone, what I said and what I meant. Now, if you want to interpret it even more than what it else, that sounds like something that's on you. The onus is on you on that, brother. What
you said was that.
But no, let me know when I can go. Because this is some bullshit.
I mean, what you said was that. Listen, just because it's general does not mean that you wasn't trying to shame the general population. It doesn't. But your intentions was clear. It was clear as if it was written in stone, sir.
No, that was for you. You can't speak to the general population. That's you being in your field.
You just said you were speaking to the general population. What are you?
That was a general fucking question. That's what that
exactly. So in general, that was a shaming tactic.
If I said I'm not trying to shame nobody, then what the fuck are you telling me that
I don't believe everything?
Because Bernard.
Ed. All right.
Listen, dude, if you feel soft all on the inside and gushy about the fucking comment, then you can take that up with me directly. But you're up here trying to make it seem like you can feel for everybody about that question.
Okay.
What do you do that at? What do you do that at?
All right.
Well, right quick, if I may, Bernard. You see what you just did? If you're feeling soft and gushy, shaming is your default tactic. Attacking a person's masculinity or attempt to do so is your default tactic.
Stop.
Now your secondary tactic is to say that a person misconstrued exactly what you did. Okay, that is what you do, sir. You attempt to control.
Hey, hold on, bro. I muted you. Don't unmute yourself to interrupt after I muted you because I'm about to wrap this part of it up, and we're gonna move along. But GC, you can finish saying what you're saying, and I'm gonna put a bow on this, and then we're gonna move on because it's getting ridiculous.
Just move on. I don't have anything. I don't have to say it.
All right, and I'll wrap it up like this. He said what he said, and I interpreted, and most people I think interpreted as an implication there that we were essentially talking about negotiating with unruly, out-of-pocket chicks that don't want us. I think that was what he was essentially trying to lay out there, and I think we made it clear that is not what was happening. The whole premise in this, we're talking about a social contract and people who won't make it, like hold on, damn it, I was trying to make the thing pop up. Who will be the casualties in it is what was put out there. Those women would obviously be casualties, and we were, so it's like you came with a straw man, and I do think the straw man did get exposed. I do think the straw man got exposed. I don't think it's
Bernard,
too many.
I'm sorry, one more thing before
too many ways around that. Ryan Decipher, real quick, he says, just showing support. Congrats on the 11K, Bernard. Salute to the sense. Theo Waff in the building. He says Theo Waff. Shout out to you. Shout out to damn. Hold on. He said, "Oh, there we go." Rod the Guy podcast in the building says, "Didn't on the 11K. Congrats, BR." Shout out to you. Shout out to shit. Let me get through the super chats. Theo, look like Theo just dropped another one. I can't get my BMW M8 to start because I'm not sufficiently masculine. If I were a real man, that M8 would start every time. I guess I need more masculine frame to get it to start.
No, Theo, if you was a real man, you'd push it yourself. You'd push it to work. Like you should bear that burden for the community.
All right. Let's all right, where we at? We didn't got all thrown off. I don't want to. I'll pass it to Theo real quick. I know Ed want to jump in where we was at, but Theo was waiting for a minute. Go ahead, Theo. Theo probably going to be brief, and then we'll pass it. We'll pass it to Ed.
I have to be brief because I have to go to. I have to keep on working. I'm using this as a delay right now. What Ryan said was sensei, which is teacher in Japanese. So it's something I'm one of his teachers. So basically, one of the things I like you guys talking about is a social contract.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm abroad, one of the things I love is a social contract between myself and the women there. And it's easy to understand my position and what I'm responsible for, what they're responsible for. And so getting into like communication or understanding what our roles and responsibilities are together is actually rather easy to do. And I love it. So it's why I go to Brazil, Japan, Ukraine. That's one of my main haunts. But what we have here in the United States is, she can't define herself as a woman. And I'm just like looking at her like, okay, how do you go from there? Or, okay, I know what a woman is, I'll define it. But then, like you said, like you have two twins, they have two different answers about what the social contract is supposed to be. And you can't, as a man, you really can't deal with that because we know what our responsibility is. And there's no question about it. We have to bring certain things to the table. And so if not only that she's not going to bring anything to the table, but that, if she does, then I owe her more, or there's some sort of like craziness going on. It's just like, look, there's too much confusion with you. This is not going to work. And that's something that was my position with Western women back in the 90s. So there's just not going to happen. But as I went to Japan, I knew my position real quick. I knew what I had to do in order to get married. I knew what I had to do to be a husband, to be a man. That was laid out. Like here's the manual. This is the way it's been for hundreds of years here. You can adhere to it, or you can leave the country. Done. So, yeah, I do think we need this. I think we need to figure it out in our own community how to move forward.
Right on. Good stuff. Appreciate you coming through, Theo. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for coming on up and giving your perspective. And I thought I had my shit worked out. I didn't see that I in Sensei. I thought I couldn't. It's okay. I didn't see that I at the end of Sensei. I'm sitting there looking at the comments like, oh shit, yeah, okay, I did botch that. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead, Ed. You got it, Ed.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I don't mean to be an asshole, but and then like try to bump the line. But the reason why I was trying to bump the line is because when I see those radars when you see missiles about to get the ship or the submarine, you try to put out the flak to try to blow that shit up. That's basically what I was doing. The reason why Game Changer was talking, when you ever hear somebody talking and everybody else in this space is just completely shutting the fuck up, other than the host, that's usually because pretty much the whole group concurs with what he's saying. And he's pretty, the representative to kind of represent what everybody thinks. And so conversations like that, like even with Theo having a lead, That was what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? I ain't gonna say 15 minutes, exaggerate. For what? For like a whole bunch of nothing at the end of the day. What was in the chat was exactly what was verbally. And it's cool, but it is what it is. So I'll do a whole video breaking that down. I just wanted to talk initially too about what Mike said about the social contract. I appreciate you acknowledging that, but like as far as that I said it and other people that said it, but at the end of the day, this is, I think, the biggest thing that needs to be talked about. So this is an all hands on deck, which I appreciate you doing a video on this, like interview with Bernard. This is the one thing that Black people do not want to talk about. Black people do not want to talk about a social contract. And there's a video that I put on my community tab. Shout out to the book of Alpharonomy. He did a review of a Fox Soul with Vivica Fox and Lisa Ray talking about what TD Jake said. And y'all need to stay here and listen to this and check that out because it ties completely into this conversation. And when you listen to the stuff that they were saying, Selena Johnson as well, even though she got a husband, they say the same things because they do not want. The reason why, like what Theo said, the reason why we don't have a social contract, that's on purpose. Because if you have a contract, you have a quick reference to hold them accountable or something. The other word that I want to hear that Mike said, which is probably as bad as the submission word, is qualified. Nigga, you are not allowed to tell a Black female what she don't qualify for. That bitch can have AIDS, and you're not allowed to say she disqualified for sex. You don't believe me? What's that? Look at how that chick with the tattoo on her neck is being treated, even though talk about she didn't know she had AIDS and she's connected to Chris Brown. They talking about that like she's some kind of fucking survivor or some shit. So my point is, and I'm saying that obviously I'm being facetious, but my point is you use the word qualified. You can't qualify them to something if there's no standard. It is no secret that Black men as a group have the lowest standards, yet somehow Black women that's supposed to care about Black love too have the highest standards for your Black ass, but then let them, deal with another race of man. That completely isn't there. So my main point, just to wrap it up, is we have had this space for X amount of time long, and the females have had their space, and nobody wants to talk about a social contract because Black people, including pro-Blacks, understand that is what the issue, and they also understand, and just to kind of bring in what the dude was trying to say, is they have made it very clear as a group they're not going to adhere to it. Now, there's exceptions to the rule. Like I say, 20% of them may be operationally, on the standard, but the rest of them are not going to do that. And as a dude, you have a choice. You either take it or you do what's in your best interest, which is intercultural dating, interracial dating, and dating, Black women to act like they got some sense, which is what Bernard does. And that's it. But we have too many dudes, and this is what Michael talk about with Dear Future Wifey and all of them, or Hello Future Wifey, is that they want you to pay the tax, but they want you to pay the high interest while they get an interest-free loan. And that is the reason. That's one of the big reasons why this conversation has not been had to the extent that it hasn't. Because take the women off the table. It's a lot of, and I'm not gonna say that on the platform. It's a lot of dudes that are invested in stuff as it is today, and what they're doing is trying to sell to you to do what they won't do, and that needs to be a lot more hostily called out than what it is. There's a lot of dudes that want to have them.
Hold on, Ed, are you referring to the? Oh, damn, hold on.
He's one of them. Hello, Future Wifey is one of them.
Oh wait, hold on. I had to mute you real quick. There was a background. I couldn't hear myself when I was talking to you. But you're referring to the dudes who are, basically they got the platform trying to. Hold on, let me mute you real quick. Hold on. Basically, you're talking about the dudes who got the platforms where they're essentially trying to get guys to go dive on the grenades, basically. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
And those niggas are where I got the emotional dope dealers from, because they're doing to the social climate exactly what niggas that sold crack did to the Black community. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because it's not just, you're going against men. What you're doing, for those, let's say y'all really care about the genetic survival of the ADOS Black person. You doing that pushes a lot of these niggas that have the resources or the genetic looks, and they could do that, you're literally pushing them into SYSBM. You're actually contributing to the destruction of your community in the long term by doing that. Because because it is, number one, it is un-American. Fuck the pro-black shit for a second. We are Americans. Now, people want to play the black first card, cool. But if you being American, that shit is right there. You can't tell the difference between you being black first and American first. Because if you could, your niggas would be African. So shut the fuck up. Any of y'all niggas want to play that game. You all are Americans first, pretty much right with that. It is absolutely un-American to tell somebody to basically tell a man to basically take shit on the chin when they have no other real reason to. Just do it just on GP. That's what pastors do. That's what they got Nat Turner to tell of the slaves. Now, they wasn't slavery. Yo ass ain't. And so when dudes do that, I'm like, you're actually creating a reaction out of a man to actually go against that just because. So you're actually pushing these dudes out of the community low key by doing that because it creates a certain amount of resentment. You don't believe me? Look at how the Z's are right now. And look at where they're operating with. They are absolutely not dating Keisha. So my point is, but see, them niggas don't really care about the community like that. They don't. So I'll leave it at that. But this is a very important conversation. It's a conversation we need to have more. And whenever somebody, and by the way, last thing I'm gonna say too, I'm not trying to throw out names. I'm just saying, whenever there's an iteration of people that want to say, let's save the community, let's save the black community, let's have a conversation. You notice how they never have this conversation?
Right.
Like the actual clauses, we brought the small hat people, as we say on this show, the clauses and addendums of the contract, like Mike very great in the beginning of this show talked about. And then that's why I kind of got annoyed by how we got sidebar from it. And no, Game Changer, I know that's not your fault. What you're trying to do is correct the situation. But like I said, clearly, if something can't be corrected, yeah. Maybe you didn't have enough masculinity to correct it, you know, the way these motherfuckers want to talk. You know. And people have accused me of that, but whatever.
I should have through it.
Yeah, it's like a fucking video game, you know, a role-playing game. You gotta have enough alpha male energy, alpha points in order to get past this boss. Whatever. The point is, they always say you can't leave. Leaving is the enemy. Not only can you not leave, I've gotten them to admit that you can't even date a black woman from another culture. I could find a black woman blacker than a black woman here. And then they gonna say this bitch is a white woman dipped in chocolate. That's where featureism comes from. That's where that type of. So you cannot date. And another thing he said when he said about fucking a black woman, that's why I bring up sexual politics. Because the only thing that really matters in the black community, this is both for black men and black women, is black men fucking black women. Because you notice black men don't hold black women accountable to dating out. You got a Supreme Court justice to date out. Niggas ain't really say shit. Yes, Clarence Thomas, but you know, they trying to impeach that nigga. You got a vice president that's got a small hat man. Guess what? Obama wouldn't have got in there. Michelle wouldn't have been there. And you got black men to actually accept that. So sexual politics is the only politics that counts in the black community. And they don't want to talk about that along with the social contract. And this is why I say this shit ain't going to be fixed. I'm done. Thank you.
All right. And as I've been stating lately, my Instagram that you probably was subscribed to or was following, I'm starting over. I basically hold on. Who got background? Okay, hold on. I'm starting over. So if you're not following me on this Instagram right there, the name's going to change on that soon. But it's right now it's at Bernard Riley Official. Go and follow me on that Instagram. That is the one where I will be posting stuff. So go follow me on that one. Thank Christian Hutchinson. Christian, I'm jacking up everybody's name today. Christian, thank you for your thank you for coming on through. Thank you for coming on through. Thank you for your patience. You got the floor. You got the mic.
Yeah, I heard my name being spoke about, so it was like Candyman, so I had to pop up.
Yeah.
No, so I actually just within what I would say is we were talking about a social contract or how would you build a community, and I was just in at the beginning of last month now a very extreme patriarchy situation. I was up at my in-laws' place, and so my sister-in-law's been dating this guy about off and on about 3.5 years at this point. So he met my in-laws, I guess, this spring, and so basically he had to. They had this barbecue. There was this barbecue that basically like the big dog from the area of China they're in. Everybody wants to go to this barbecue, and so what happens is all the women with children who are married, they all have to be in one room. But I didn't realize what was going on until afterwards. But all the women with children are all in like one room dealing with all the kids, and then the people with grown kids, the married people with the grown kids, and the married men and the single women, they all are like socializing. And so basically, my sister-in-law had to pitch to the big guy about the guy she was dating and what the situation was. Now, backstory: the big guy, this is the person that like my in-laws wanted to set up his son with my wife, and so he's like really nice to me. It's really weird, but whenever I show up, like my in-laws say bring him gifts, so I take him like Hennessy and menthol cigarettes because that's what he likes. So that's a different story. But anyway, so he's a really nice person or whatever.
This
So
is an in-law of yours?
no, this is like he's basically this rich businessman from China. He basically is like the most successful person from my from my in-laws area of China.
Okay, so
And
this Chinese man, you're taking menthol cigarettes, and what did you say? What else did you say?
in Hennessy.
Hennessy and menthol cigarettes.
Yeah, that's what he likes. And
Wow.
Jack, not Jack Daniels, the whiskey. What's the whiskey? Like the black label. I can't remember the name of it, but you take gifts to him. So anyway, he's like the big man, and he's like the elder basically. So my sister-in-law has to like pitch basically, oh, who this guy is she's dating, and he basically has to say it's cool for her to this is the guy that she's going to deal with. And it was kind of interesting how it was the back and forth because they were asking like, what did he do? They didn't ask anything about his personality. It was all about what does he do? What does his parents do? What is he going to how is he going to improve the family situation? It was all about what his input was going to be. Because I guess the assumption is, if you like him, you obviously like him. So we're trying to talk to what we can actually measure. And if that doesn't measure up, then, we're going to put a kibosh on that. So it was kind of interesting to watch how they did it. So I don't know what the next step is. So I'm just kind of watching from afar because I've never been this close to that sort of process.
But that again, that's culture. That's them, that no laws got passed for them to do that or operate like that. They've all generally decided and agreed that is the best way to operate to get the best outcome. Sort of what Mike was talking about. You want to respond to that, Mike? What you just said?
Yeah, it's always funny how that every other culture that operates that we sometimes mimic, that we sometimes bring up in these conversations, like we bring up small hat people, we bring up other cultures, we bring up the fact that there's a Mexican town, we bring up the fact that there's a Chinatown, we bring up all these things, and then when we see what it takes to actually do that, we be like, nah, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? We completely dismiss the little nuances of culture, and not even nuance, but real just order of operations that they have. Like something as simple as you have to qualify to the big guy. That's something as simple as that. Like, what I'm saying? Like, even when I talk to women, I'm like, I mean, like, I don't want to like qualify to your dad as in like I'm looking to your dad as a, but I want your dad to probably be a part of the vetting process because it just makes sense. But something as simple as that, women don't want. And that's why you get third and fourth and fifth baby mamas. You know what I mean? But that's just, like I say, that's excellent. Like, Christian always has like excellent stories. Like the one you told on Ed's show was just like, that was a dope story. And it was like simple as my wife was kind to me. That's it. She was kind to me. We went out. She was cool. I was cool. And then we dated. And then, as the story goes, later on down the line, you all are married. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I guess what the big thing is when we talk about the social contract is that what is there's like this, I guess you have, what do people get for adhering to the social contract? So when I did like the interview with Bernard, I talked about, there's like this buy-in, like the guy's got to give up some money to get to marry. And what happens is, it's just not the parents just pocket the money. It's like a buy into a partnership. And so for the guy to give up the money to get the wife, he's going to get certain things in return too. So for instance, he might get a visa from China to the United States or to Canada, which is valuable in a lot of ways, right? He's going to get business contacts. He's going to get all sorts. There's all sorts of things that he's going to get access to, which is what he's paying in for. He's just not paying for.
Modern men get something from modern women. So let's not pretend like they don't. What we get from modern Black women is to say that we're man enough to put up with their shit. I think that the bragging rights of saying that we're man enough to put up with an unruly person is a gift in and of itself. That it's its own dowry, sir. It really is. Yes, other people actually get like stores and cooperative women and slim sex, fit, feminine, and friendliness, submission, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We get the bragging rights of saying that we put up with the shit that nobody else can.
Okay, I mean, and maybe that has currency in some worlds, but I'm talking about in the rest of the world. This is what other people are doing, and so we maybe might want to consider that. I think that having to march on down to a family friend and explain your relationship, I think that's a little extreme, right? Because I think it was just I think it just maybe more of like a tradition, but I don't know. Uncle, we call him Uncle. I don't know what his real name is. Uncle holds some sway. If he wants something done a certain way, he can pretty much probably wield it because he holds some power over some people. Because I'm not going to get into why, but he holds some power over people. He can influence people to do certain things. So I think that's a little extreme, but I think there is something to a culture of agree to. Yeah, go ahead.
We hold power over our women, sir. We hold the power to do exactly what they want as long as they call it masculine while we're doing it. And we hold the power to command them to do the things that they wanted to do anyway. So yes, Black men collectively do have power over the modern Black woman.
Yeah. So I know you're being sarcastic. So anyway, but I guess what my main point is, when we talk about the social contract, there is something where if you get this, we have to define both sides of the equation. That as a guy, if you do this, then you will get that. And we want to make sure when we have the conversation, I guess my point is, we point out, but if men get this, women will provide this in return. And we make that very clear, because then it just sounds like it's like a one-way thing, which is often emulating what many people feel is happening now, just in reverse. So if we want to have an intellectual, honest conversation, we want to make sure we do that. That's all.
Yeah, I think that with and just addressing what you said, Christian, I think that the idea of protection provisions and and leadership, like, I mean, and the things that obviously come with that, I think that is probably, because like even in 2022, the best indicator of a woman's quality of life being high is based on if she's married or not, even now. So that the idea that the contract, and I don't think that you're saying that women get nothing, but if a woman was to say, well, what do I get in return? You're getting the thing that makes your quality of life the best. You're getting the security, you're getting the protection provisions, you know what I'm saying, and the leadership that is going to allow for you to, do the rest of your life the most comfortable way, and granted, I'm sure you understand that, but like if a woman was to ask that, I would immediately hit her with that, because that's the easiest answer, you know what I'm saying? And what guys are asking for in return, most of it is not even tangible. Most of it is just personality and character. you know, with the exception of maybe like the fitness point, obviously, but like, I mean, it's really just character and personality, you know, fit, friendly, feminine, cooperative. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, if there's going to be any financial implications, like, look, I don't really need a woman to make a lot of money. I just need her to not have a small fortune in debt. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but I think that more men are reasonable, and especially black men, considering what we've been getting over the course of the last 50 years, we are probably a lot more reasonable than, let's say, an Arab guy. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure their women are not saying, well, I don't want to be feminine or whatever, or I'll be feminine for the right man. They don't have a choice, you know. And even in like Detroit, you know, where they're, you know, or Dearborn, where there's a lot of Arab people, like, you can be Americanized as you want. You don't have a choice in whether you're going to be feminine or not, you know?
Right.
Well, I actually worked with the Arabic girl that was a kind of an outcast. Believe it or not, she did some things that had made it back around to her family that she did, and basically it made her unmarriageable. And like, I remember I was working with her when it happened, and like her brothers like kind of disowned her, and like the only person, basically her parents, basically she could not ever leave the house. She basically had to live under her mother and father for the rest of her life because no one was going to like basically take her, sort of thing. And the only way she could really ever date an Arabic guy was she wasn't dating the guys who owned the gas station. She had to date guys who worked at the gas station, and she was basically having to pay for them because we worked at a bank together. Like, you know, she was like paying for their cars and stuff. Like, I mean, it was like some real, like, you know, she was dating the Arab pookies, basically.
Damn.
Yep. And the crazy thing about that's in America. Imagine over there. Like, there's no such thing as that happening over here, because that's an actual good deal. What you're talking about is a great deal in comparison to what would happen there, you know, in the Middle East. You know,
I'm upset that Dewan Trades left because he put something in the private chat. I guess, you know, piggybacking on the discussion that the back and forth that me and Game Changer was having with him. Well, he says if the woman's premise is being rejected, and that premise is the notion that they are reserving their femininity for certain men. I say any woman that says that she's just not a feminine woman. I mean, that's, you know. So, but anyway, he said if the woman's premise is being rejected as false, then why engage with her at this proverbial table? I wish he was here so I can ask him who said they were engaging with a woman who was claiming to have some magical in the back pocket femininity that she's going to pull out in the right situation. Who was talking about negotiating? I don't mention the table. I don't even the term, you know, the negotiating table, or what do you bring to the table? This table. I don't even do the table talk like that. So I just want to figure out what is he talking about. He says
we already addressed this.
Let me finish reading what he said. He says, why engage with her at this proverbial table? And he goes on to say, it doesn't make sense to, I think he means it doesn't make sense to do so. Why not accept her premise for what it is instead? So that's what he said, but nobody is negotiating with some out-of-pocket morphing femininity chick. Nobody is doing that. So I mean, I think we properly called him out that he was trying to just talk shit in the chat and straw man the discussion, and then we properly called that out, and then he tried to backtrack a little bit, and then he tried to say that he didn't say this, he didn't say that, and then we called it out, and then we moved on, and then he came back saying the same shit now that he said he didn't say, but now he is saying it. So there's that. But go ahead, GC.
So I have the exact quote of what he said, you know, because he's going to say that we misinterpreted what his intentions were. So I will read what he said was written in stone digitally. If Black women, now the BW is capitalized because you have to give, oh, there you go. Okay.
There it is. I dug it up.
Okay, cool. So if Black women capitalized, because you can't lowercase Black women. You can't lower them in any way, shape, or form. Have clearly, openly stated they are reserving their femininity, quote, in quotation marks for whatever reason, for men they like they like, then why are black men who are not getting femininity, and there's where the straw man comes in, except they aren't just liked.
I
They aren't
accepted
just
that.
liked.
I accepted that. I accepted that. And I've said this in other situations. So they ask me, why is my wife not black? I say, I asked out black women and they made it clear I wasn't qualified. So I dated and married an Asian woman who I was qualified for.
Wait, but hold on. That's why I was asking them an important question. If we're talking about women simply rejecting a guy that they weren't feeling, and then he should accept that and move on to whatever he is feeling. I mean, move on to whatever is feeling him or will get with him. If that's what he was talking about, I generally had no problem with it. But later on in the conversation, he said, I get the feeling that Bernard and Mike are going to, how did he word that? Something like be trying to, Mike, you remember what he said?
It was something to the effect of negotiate or try to, it was
negotiate some femininity out of a out of pocket chick. If a chick is not feminine, if she's not cooperative, she's not going to be around me for much long. So that was the straw man in there, that he's saying, if you reject the premise of the conditional femininity, why are you trying to bring these conditionally feminine women to some negotiating table? Nobody is trying to do that. Like it was rightfully properly pointed out in the damn title or in the subtitle, who will be the casualties of this new black community. Yeah, bitches trying to negotiate their femininity will be the casualties. Will be the casualties of this hypothetical new black community. Like, so nobody is trying to negotiate with them. I said it once, I said it again.
So here's a question. Is there a way for you to work yourself back in the community? So let's say you knocked off a liquor store when you were 21 and caught a felony. Is there a way for you to work your way back in, or are you forever excommunicated?
I mean, for me, I guess that there's a way to work yourself back in the community, from making a bad decision, in your 20s. But what I would ask to your question, like, yeah, I mean, that would have to be specific, because the idea that you knocked off you would probably be a felon, so there would probably be no reason for you to be in the community anyway. Because I would ask, how would they handle that in any other community?
It's based off production, results, and outcomes. I think if somebody committed a crime at some point in their life, but they did whatever they had to do to pick the pieces up and became a productive, law-abiding citizen at some point. I don't say once a criminal, always a criminal. I think you look at somebody's current results. Are they currently being a current law-abiding citizen and currently being productive and currently on the right track? Then yeah, I do view them different as somebody who did a bunch of bullshit and they still down in the mud, complaining, making excuses, and probably going to fall right back into the same bullshit. So yeah, that's how I look at that.
Yeah, so like the way I look at it as like, for instance, on my rental properties, I don't allow anyone with felons. But what I'll say is, after 2 years, all felonies are reviewable, and I say, if you have a felony, let me review your court documents. I can kind of decide if this is a risk I want to take or not. So I think there's probably, and I say after 7 years that you're good, unless you committed murder 1, murder 2, or sexual assault of some nature. I look at, you can come back from a lot of stuff after a certain period of time. So we do want to draw a line, but we do have to allow people do things and they find themselves in weird situations because of what happened, because I think if someone, look, trust me, I'm all about order and structure, but we also have to have a way to have people to work themselves back into society, because you have to remember, even if you build a new black community, the general society is still going to consider all of us black. So if we just if you say, no, those are those people over here, some people will lay the distinction, but most people won't, right? And so we're still going to have to carry that burden anyway. So you have to incentivize, hey, if you come in, if you do these certain things, you're going to get the benefits of being a part of the group. So
well I think the reality of how that will play out is it will just basically look like a class situation with black people, and that's something that black people don't acknowledge very much. But just like there's class amongst white people, there's poor white people, there's middle and upper middle class white people, and there's upper class white people. I think speaking of those casualties, those that were left behind will be essentially those, essentially in the lower class. I mean, there's already there's a wide wealth gap between, the truly successful black people and the black people in the middle, and especially those at the bottom. I mean, there's already a gap that sort of mimics the overall wealth gap in this country. So I think it will end up looking like that. But you do make a good point that from the general public or the general standpoint, that all black people are lumped in together, and we are quite often judged by the worst of us. And a lot of that is the fault of the black people, because black people who are doing well, who are the best, typically like to over attach themselves to the problems. They or make excuses for the problems, or so it ends up being a situation where we sort of help perpetuate us being judged or viewed or looked at as the problem. The ethnic reputation that we talk about a lot on this show. That's something that is harder for us to escape. It's harder for us to escape that, and that just is what it is right now at this point. I don't know if anybody wanted to. Well, Ed just came back, so Ed, go ahead. What you got?
Yeah, I understand what Christian was talking about, but in order to fix the situation, the pendulum has to swing the other way. You gotta be extremely heavy handed with motherfuckers. You really do. And the problem is nobody wants to see nobody fall below the cracks. They don't. And if nobody wants to plug the holes, then the whole ship is gonna sink. And that's really where we are. Honestly, I'm gonna keep it real. Christian, just hold on, just to give a quick number to it. I'm where really, if you're not in the top 40% of the black community, the way I look at it is, we need to create a community with 40%, and everybody else is ISO. That's how I see it.
Mm.
They're genetic material. That's it. And that sounds fucked up.
But they still going to exist, and they still will be attached to us. That part is
they exist. No, they exist to take the hits. They exist to absorb all of that negative shit you're talking about. They absorb it. That's their purpose. And quite frankly, that's low key where we're going if nobody does anything. Except that number won't be 40%. That number will more likely be 10%, and not in like 15%. It's an 85%. That's where that's going, because even Dr. Clark Anderson said, but black people are on the path of being a permanent underclass. He said that a while ago, and I think we've already crossed that Rubicon. Then it's just a matter of what percentages of black people. I already think we're already like in the 80%. I mean, you look at where the economy is going, the stuff that's happening, gentrification. I mean, shout out to Jason Black. He did gentrification, ethnic cleansing, American style. You see how rapid these other groups are buying into these cities, or even not those black folks, which I ain't blaming them. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I think
so.
Ed, do you think gentrification is actually a major problem? Ed?
Yeah. Yes.
Why?
Because it leads to what I call genetic gentrification. The best way to tell who you're going to be with is the environment who you grow up with. If you bust up all the black neighborhoods, not only does that bust up wealth enclaves amongst black folks, that also busts up who you're around, which means you're most likely going to marry out, which means and then they're already setting it up to where you're going to have this competing um, classification called people of color. And there's going to be a lot of black folks that's going to buy into that just because of the way the economy and everything is. And that allows you to not deal with the stuff you were talking about being claimed black. Oh, I'm not black. I'm a person of color. Even if you officially don't do that, a lot of folks are going to unofficially do that. And so it's already happening. Like all those things lead to each other. So what happens is we wait till the shit's on fire rather than waiting until, oh, that shit, that grease is boiling. Let me take that shit off before it turns into a fire. Because
Yeah.
once it becomes a fire, that's it. It's over. It's just a matter of y'all, doing hymns while you go down like the Titanic was playing that music while they were sinking.
Yeah,
I'm good.
okay. I mean, I don't necessarily see gentrifying. Okay, when it comes to gentrification, okay, one or two things will happen. The black people who can no longer afford to live over there will just find another hood to move into. They'll just get scattered around in different hoods somewhere
No,
else.
that's not true. That's not
Okay, what
true.
happens to them? Do they become homeless? Like, what happens to them?
It gets to a point. It gets to a point where there are no places because even in the hoods, say California for example, California had a lot more black people in it than it does now. So what if the hood is being gentrified? Meaning the hood, I'm talking about not the hood, but I mean the place where okay, you gentrify the hood. Now that place is where you go. But what if all other groups already done solidified that? Under the structure that Christian Hutchinson was talking about. Like we know Asians and whites typically control commercial real estate. But Hispanics are the ones that'll be in those commercial real estate because Hispanics they have their own stuff. You're already seeing it. Like you can look at certain states.
Okay,
Same thing
let
with
me.
Detroit, Christians, and I mean you're in Michigan. Like no, I get what you're saying, but what if you get removed from the actual? And you're trying to say it's not a big deal. You're just not
Well,
seeing down the road what it's going to lead to.
Yeah,
I know.
I
I'm
I get where
genuinely.
Edward's
Hold
going
on.
with this.
Well, wait. Well, I'm just genuinely trying to understand because if people have to move, okay, they have to move, and you can say, well, they have nowhere to go. I mean, they don't just disappear. They don't evaporate
They kind
because
of
the
do.
hood.
Yeah, but no. So I get where Edward's going with this. So what happens is when different groups come into the country, or even as they move, because there's migration patterns. You can study, like here in Metro Detroit, you can study how the Polish community has basically moved up Van Dyke or Gratiot up into the north. They start off down in the city center, and over the course of 120 years, they moved out to 26 and 27 mile. You can track the churches, the cultural centers. It's all very documented. So what he's saying is basically when you break up these communities, you break up the ecosystem. So these ecosystems might be, for instance, like if you're a contractor and you have 5, 6 employees, those are probably going to be people in the neighborhood, and they're probably going to be people that reflect your race. The restaurants you own, the churches, all these sort of storefronts that you think about, these are all going to be heavily ethnically driven. When you break up those neighborhoods, those people are displaced, and now basically they're subject to the mainstream, so they can no longer like work in Bob's appliance repair. They now have to go work at Best Buy's service department, which detaches them from their community even further. That's what he's talking about.
But you also see, okay, so here's the thing. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I can actually show you in a 30-year period, 60-year period, a lot of what I'm talking about. And you can see, and that's not even a big city. The thing of like you got cities like Nashville, Tennessee. You got cities like we already know New York, Chicago, and California is well documented. Detroit has its history. Like black people have this belief that if black people are there today, like in a certain amount of time, they'll never be completely gone. San Francisco used to have a whole bunch of black people. Hell, Oakland in many ways, places that you would have never believed black people could be removed from. And make no mistake, I am
Like,
not
like,
talking about hold on. My point is that when it comes to the cities, when it comes to the cities, yes, they are going somewhere outside of the cities to where they are, where the money is. White people are moving in. The money is starting to be in the cities. And so as they move in and you get pushed out, you are away from everything. Like this stuff is around you and like If you're in the top 20%, 20 cities in the United States, it's impossible for you not to really see this and see the effects unless you're just absolutely absent to it. Even somebody like me. Because the way that this used to be defended, this is, and look, I'm not here to say black people, this is black people's fault. Let me be very fucking clear about this. Though, and this starts with the black church. The contract was that pastor got to skim money off the fucking top as a method of him being an operational manager between black people like Christian that ain't gonna be in the hood with you, having to worry about his family, but is willing to put money in there and own a couple of businesses or rental properties. That and then the dudes that actually people that actually live there, they were supposed to be the bridge. And as the bridge, they were able to have power, skim money off the top. But then they basically said, "No, I'm just gonna tell the bitch what she wants to hear." And then I'm just gonna take all her money and fuck all you other motherfuckers. And then people like, even though Christian, you do good, but you get what I'm saying. The people, because me and Complexes had this conversation on the Coliseum. Dudes just moved their money. Cause why? You're gonna bust up their the businesses they own whenever we have a George Floyd or something like this. So now you talk about why is the money Detroit? Why is the money being vacuumed out of the community now that white folks left? That's one of the reasons. So I'm not here to make an excuse for black people. But what I'm telling you is gentrification is the start. You cannot have a community without a physical environment. Period. Gentrification is a direct threat to that. And it's not gentrification. I'm saying this again, 10 seconds. It's not gentrification on its own, Bernard. It is black people's not only in a lack of effectiveness in handling it, it is their absolute unwillingness and comprehension to it that is the issue. We're always on the bad end of gentrification. That's the issue. It ain't gentrification itself.
Speak for yourself.
It's the fact that we're always. Well, I'm talking about as a group. As a group. No, I get what I know. I ain't in that. But outside of that top 20%. No, but I'm talking about as a group. You know what I'm talking about, Christian.
All right. All right. Okay.
Whoever said that.
I'll say this and I'll pass it. I do want to hear somebody else's perspective on gentrification because I like okay, the white people move in, some of the businesses change, and the black people have to move somewhere. Like I said, they don't evaporate; they move somewhere. Like there's places where white people move in, and then black people have to move out. And there's also places those black people start moving in other places, and then white people go move somewhere. I mean, it's like so that's why I'm saying it's like. The black people that have to leave, they end up just going to another lower income neighborhood. But if we get to the point to where there are no low income neighborhoods, then so from my perspective, they always have somewhere to go, whether they're working at some little local small business or working at Best Buy. They're making around minimum wage. They're in a poor neighborhood making around minimum wage working for a small business, or they move to another neighborhood further out and they're now they're working at Best Buy making close to minimum wage. I see the same situation, just people just moving from one place to another. Mike or GC,
what
are y'all
Bernard, it's about who has ownership. Like when you talking about Best Buy, like we don't own we don't own Best Buy. While compared to, you can own that appliance shop that has 5 employees that does 600. Yeah.
But wait a minute, if a black person owns that appliance shop and he owns it, is his. I don't think gentrification runs him out. His taxes may go up, but
no,
I don't think that's going to run him out.
Correct.
So that black man is good. The black people who are not owners and they're renters and they're not owners, they may have to move somewhere else to rent and find somewhere else to work. Like
That's not like honestly, Bernard. I
freely admit that I'm ignorant to why gentrification is viewed as big of a problem as what we make it out to be. I freely admit I'm ignorant that. I did some research on it. I watched a little mini documentary on it. Did some reading on it. I still didn't see like where is the huge problem. I do want to get somebody else
because you make it sound like there's always somebody in a city. You make it sound like there's always a place in the city for poor people. That's traditionally maybe been true. That's not true today.
Well,
That's not true
okay.
today. I mean, like, take black people out of it. Look at the tent cities with white folks in California. Fuck black people for a second. And those are white people. Some of them actually make $80,000, something like that a year. I'll fall back because y'all are different places in the country. California didn't speak to this too, so I'll fall back. I know you want to get somebody else in.
I want to get somebody else in. And y'all make sure y'all subscribe. I'm pretty sure RM been dropping the link in the chat. Make sure y'all subscribe to Mike and Vince Perkins. We going all the way around the world. This was a one-on-one with me, with him. We had a good conversation about the social contract in the black community. So we're probably going to circle back to that, but I do want to deal with this gentrification thing real quick.
Look,
Game Changer, go. No, hold on. I want to get somebody else on this. Go ahead, Game Changer.
Okay. Yeah, I think that the reason why gentrification hit so hard is because it really highlighted the reality that our community, in a geographical sense, meaning like, the location and things like that, wasn't really ours. It was given to us as a project largely. So say if you have a neighborhood of 10 black families or 10 black households, I should say, because there are very few black families, and then somebody says, okay, we're not going to accept Section 8 vouchers anymore, and then 3 of them leave, and now it's only 2, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I thought that this was our community, this was we are the Hoover Deuces, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I mean, you just come across this realization that, oh crap, this isn't really mine, and it never was. This entire community, this entire construct wasn't black owned.
Yeah, Game Changer. I think you hitting the nail on the head and exposing what the real problem is. It's basically just a kick in the nuts, just showing us that damn, we don't own our shit. We as a group, we don't own enough shit, and we're losing. It's just a reminder of that. I don't think no major horrible thing is happening by people buying up real estate and building apartment buildings and putting restaurants and businesses right there. I don't see that.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said though. Like you're like
I'm not talking about what you said. I'm talking about what gentrification is. I'm saying that black people as a whole look up at it and they see it happening and they're just like, damn, not enough of us are in position to actually own this shit. But if we did own it, are we going to keep everything that we own lower level and operate it in an impoverished way so poor black people can afford it? I'm just like, it's a weird thing.
But Bernard, I have seen towns. Hold on, I have seen towns that are 90% black go to 3% black. In a fucking 20-year period, go to 3 in a 20-year period. I'm talking about where black people did own the land. And another thing, like I'll have to
so they owned the land. Okay, so when they got gentrified, they held out and then sold it for.
Yes, but you. I'll have to.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of what happened. There's a very specific thing that happened. So I'll give you an example, like a property I bought. I bought a property in 2016 for like $50,000, and there was hand-to-hand drug deals. There was prostitutes on the street, everything. So me and my wife ran them off using some different things. So we ran the people off. But we had to come out of pocket cash money, right? We had to use credit at high interest rates. That's what we had to use because it was deemed unloanable by banks because of the population, the population that was living there. So we get it all set up and everything. About a year and a half, 2 years after we get there, we see people, like, I went to the bank to try to get money, and the bank's like, you can't, there's no viable place to live there. We can't loan the money. They had millions of reasons why they couldn't give me $75,000 to get the property going. So I had to go into pocket.
Yo, black ass.
Right. But then what happened 2 years later, there was people first time out, had never bought a property before. They were able to go get an investment property, go get a property right across the street from me, and they paid $100,000, and they were able to get a renovation loan, and they only had to put down ten or $15,000, and they renovated the property from top to bottom, and it was all said and dandy. And obviously, yes, I locked in at a lower price, so yes, I get profits, but it's still like my cost of ownership was technically higher than theirs because I had to come out of more upfront capital in order to do the project. But they were able to come in behind, and that's where gentrification, even though, yes, I placed the white people in the neighborhood and drove up the rents, and so I got the equity. So it's like, hey, it doesn't matter. My property went from a 50,000 to 200,000, so I got the upside anyway, and I got the increased rents anyway. That's what the effect of gentrification is, because I'm now playing against people who they get to play at a more traditional, higher level because they get preferred interest rates. They get preferred. It's just different.
When you say they get preferred interest rate, you hold on. When you, just to be clear, when you say they get preferred interest rates, it sounds like you're not talking about how gentrification is affecting the people in the community. You're talking about the white people that also got money like you that you're competing with to gentrify black people.
No, there's multi-dynamics. Like, so
no, hold on. I'm that was to Christian. Let answer it. I mean,
so what I'm saying, what the gentrification holds is
was my assessment correct of what I just described that you had an issue with.
No, so what I'm saying with the gentrification represents is that if you have a black family who makes $50,000 and you have a white family that makes $50,000,
okay,
they are that neighborhood is graded. They won't say it or not, but I'm telling you, I've done deals. They grade the viability of the project differently. Now, yes, there could be things with violence and property crimes. There's things that's proxy you can get there, but it basically comes down to it's a black neighborhood versus a white neighborhood. Okay, and so even though yes, I own it, okay, my cost of ownership to go into a black neighborhood is higher. But then once it becomes a white neighborhood, though the sticker price may be higher, the things that you have access to becomes better. And that's where the ugly side of the gentrification is that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like you're talking about it from a completely different angle than
it all comes like me, because me and Christian, Christian knows more about real estate than I do because he's done more stuff. But we had conversations about this stuff on my channel. But once he realized I'm enough to get myself in trouble, we were having these higher level conversations because it goes down to like insurance and it's a lot of stuff. There are a lot of black folks. See, I'm sorry, I'm about to go here. This is where the conservative, black shit really kind of is blind spots, because this shit is documented. Wells Fargo has had been fined and their hands stay in the cookie jar, and Bank of America's hands stay in the fucking cookie jar getting caught with this shit too. Like, this is documented shit. This is not like something that we're just kind of, making up. So what he's talking about,
they got caught targeting black people because they thought black people wasn't smart enough to read the fine print, and then black people fucked around and proved them right by not reading the fine print and having a fucked up mortgage. I mean, it was white people that didn't read the fine print too. Black people didn't read the fine print at a higher percentage rate.
Yeah, and they also opened up, and Wells also opened up investment checking accounts in white folks' name as well. So without no fine print being there. So trust me, they do. So it ain't just, you don't read the fine print. Like, now they ain't doing that to black people because black people ain't got the kind of money to do that. But that's how fucked up Wells is. Now, I ain't seen Bank of America do that. But what Christian's trying to communicate to you, and Christian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is you're focusing on just Christian. Christian is saying, I am this guy. I had the out-of-pocket money. So even though I can be in 6 or 7 foot water because I'm financially tall enough to be able to touch my feet, flat foot, and do that. I still coming up to like almost my shoulders, versus when white people get there, they only got to get in like 4 or 3. Here's the problem. Most people can't stand financially as tall as Christian that are black. So what happens is it inevitably, because it's not just about the investment part. It's also who's going to be in there. And then when you look at renting, because they'll have all these things when you need to rent as a tenant and stuff, and they'll have all these fucking excuses. Like, for instance, this is how I know somebody's being racist. I'm going here. I don't give a damn what channel I'm on. This is how I know somebody's being racist. When they play the game of normally you need three in North Carolina, you need 3 times the amount of rent to be somewhere. Now I'm not saying you automatically get it because you barely clear it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if they turn around and say, "Oh, you need 5 times the amount," I automatically know. Even if it's not targeted to say black, you're looking for somebody that's most likely going to be able to reach that. And here's how I extra know, just in case y'all just think I'm throwing the races out there. If you get on one of these websites, I had to call somebody out on this. If you get on one of these websites and then they say on every property that it's 3 times, but then you say, oh, for this property, this particular owner wants 5, my question is very simple. Because I was looking for an apartment for a friend because the market's crazy right now. I said, why didn't you put that on the sheet? Why do you get there's people that I know that they were about to put 3 because you got to do X amount for application fee, right? X amount, for each person's going to be in there. Why do you take their money and then process the application only to tell them that after the fact when there's nowhere that's on the website? And then I know how to download like pages and put them as a PDF just in case somebody want to be goofy enough to change it. And because they tried to say it was there and I showed them it wasn't, and then they're like, oh shit. So I see I'm the worst nigga because I know what to look for. I'm not on that. Oh, they're being racist. I don't assume white people are being racist off top. I don't, but I know what to look for when a lot of black folks don't even know what to look for. Just like FYI, here's another thing about me. When a white person stops me, you know how you know they're being racist? Other than you feel some type of way when they don't want to give you a ticket. I've actually told a cop, no, give me the fucking ticket. I want to go to court. I want to go to court. I want the ticket. And then they actually wanted to argue with me about not giving me the ticket. And then they gave me the ticket because I want to go to court. They didn't want to go to court because they was on some bullshit with stopping me. See, I know what to look for. Now I may not be. Now I'm not one of these people that say it's always racist. But I'm telling you, and I even think, even though gay is getting on my fucking nerves, I even think Gabe A will co-sign this too because I've heard him allude to it. People play the game anyway because at the end of the day, you got to get it done. But trust me, there's things under the surface that does go down. And it's not just about crying about gentrification. Here's the thing. What the fuck is having a conversation about a social contract if that's not going to actually deal in the physical environment? The social contract doesn't mean nothing in the physical environment. Last thing I'm going to say. We always make this assumption that they're playing the rules fair. We make this assumption that black people are yes, black people are fucking up. Let me be very clear. But we make this assumption that white people are just playing the rules normally, and even though white people may have an advantage because they have some money, they're playing an evil playing field. Oh, hell no. Hell to the no. Man, it is so much fucked up shit these motherfuckers be doing when it comes to shit that is completely off the table. A lot of that shit don't even be legal, some of the shit they be pulling. When it comes to how they be using eminent domain to just remove shit they shouldn't otherwise be able to remove because they paying the right politician off. It's a whole bunch of shit they be doing. This is not no monopoly fair game, even if they got money. And look, I'm not trying to be on no racist choir shit, but trust and believe, they be on that bullshit. And it ain't just white people, but white people get away with the most. It's just other groups know how to pull their little. So if you do that to them, it becomes very obvious you're cheating. You can't do that to Indians because their money is too pulled up. So if you do that, you got to do something illegal to beat them out because they'll buy whole communities on their own. So anyway.
All right. Trader MBD says, give me the ticket, Cap Pineapple. Thank you for the super chat, Trader MBD. But all right, so I do want to circle back to the main topic here about the social contract. And Mike, he did refer to this, going to talk about a social contract amongst black people. Physical location has to be more or less a part of it. And that turns into a weird thing in this day and age, in this modern time. Because community is really just a group of people with a certain set of ideas, values, blah, 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 so to speak. But when they say the gay community, okay, there's no place on the map where, gay people exist on a physical location. So when they say black community, they basically just mean black people, you know. So it's when you
or
talk about that physical location, like how does that play out in a practical way?
well, okay, so
And hold
Christian,
on, real quick. Shout out to Black Wolf Inc. He says, Captain, hit me up on IG. I have a black professor that you can interview for the show. Absolutely, absolutely. I'll hit you up. I'll hit you up. Or really email me his contact information. Email me his contact information, one or the other. But all right, go ahead, Mike.
yeah, Christian is from, is from Detroit or Detroit area, metropolitan area. You know what I'm saying? It like Detroit is, I think, the blackest city at this point. I think like 78%, almost 80% or something like that in America. It's like the idea of buying up certain neighborhoods and doing that together, like you would have to. That's why, like, and look, when I say social contract, please understand that I'm on the side of like Ed in the context of I don't think niggas would do it. Like, honestly, I don't. But like, there has to be some conversation at least started in the way of we have to do this to get here. Not just we need to come together, like like the Alan Obies of the world or whatever. But the idea is that we should probably, like I say, like right now, I'm getting so many alerts in my phone from the different apps and things that I have in my phone in regards to foreclosures and houses that are for auction. They're like in Detroit, you know what I'm saying? And like we occupy most of Detroit, but we don't own most of Detroit. So the idea that people would say, okay, cool, we're gonna go in and buy this house, that's not really a hard thing to. I mean, it's a hard thing to do, but it's not so difficult that it can't be done. So I agree that we need a physical place to actually be. But what you have sometimes is you have cities like Romulus that is on the outside of Detroit, where black people kind of just go. Slow rent, you know what I'm saying? It's hood mostly, you know what I'm saying? So like when you say, they're gentrifying like Detroit, for example, they're gentrifying, people will move out to these like smaller cities on the outskirts, whereas you don't have, the rent is not as high, but in it's like a low cost area, but it's super duper hood, and still you get the same, violence and things of that nature. But certainly we need a place to physically be for there to be, because then there's no economics. You know what I mean? There's really no economics if you don't have a group of people in a place, because you need a business class, but you also need a working class, and a working class has to be able to go to the place close to where, work in the place that they kind of live. Most people kind of live around where they work. You know what I'm saying? So we do need that to physically happen. But really, realistically, I'm presenting this as a, hey, Obi, hey, Mr. Let Go, hey, Future White, hello, Future White. Y'all should be talking about this thing. This is a part of the, solution, if you will. I'm solution based. Well, okay, you should be talking about this thing here, because this thing here is actually a part of the solution. But of course, I just don't believe, they're gonna talk about it, and I don't believe they're gonna do it.
Well, what happens is it's tough to talk about this because we got to put a number to it. So I sent Ed an email, and I said, when we talk about pro-black, I think we should really start putting a number to that. So I was saying, basically, if you do the math, a black household has a fixed amount that they have to spend the black community, about $2,500, $3,000 on hair. That's going to the barber, going to your stylist. And notice those are typically the healthiest black businesses, because you can't really get a replacement. So I would make an argument that if you're a black household making more than $50,000, if you're not doing $5,000 a year to a black business, you cannot say you're pro-black.
Yeah, and I have on like Livernois.
I'm saying 10%. I'm saying 10% of your income should be cycling through a black person's hands. And I'm not talking about, you go to the furniture store and use a black salesman. I'm talking about the person who owns whether that's an independent contractor, person who owns the business. We get into commission sales, we can come up with a calculation for that, because that is like direct money in their hands. But we need to start putting a number to that, of saying, if you don't spend XYZ, you can't talk about pro-black.
Hold on real quick. JC, what do you mean Christian is too invested? Explain what you mean by that. All right, go ahead, Christian.
I know I want JC to explain that too. If he can address me directly, he can come up with a panel. I mean, I'm sorry, I mean just direct, but someone who has an opinion about how I see things, they can come up and just say what they need to say.
Yeah. Oh no, I want you to go. I mean, you were talking, I cut you off, so I want you to go ahead and finish.
But I'm saying there's a regardless of. I say we should always put a number to it because then it makes it tangible, and so because that's where if you have the money circulating, a lot of this other stuff fixes itself. Whether it's poverty, crime, and all this other stuff, they all start kind of fixing themselves if money is circulating, and so that's what a lot of this comes down to. Again, when I do my properties, my contractors are black. He has black workers. So those are employing black people. Okay. So that's money circulating through the community. Okay. So that's the thing that we have to make sure we do is, and you can't always do it. Like, for instance, I had to buy hardwood floors for my house. And, I don't know any black people who own a hardwood flooring store. If I did, I would have bought from them. But, if someone knows someone, next time I have to buy some hardwood floors, I will gladly use them. But that's the type of example I mean. And we have to always I look at it as if it's within 5% of pricing of like going to wherever, you have to understand that is just a premium you're paying to support your local infrastructure, whether it's if you're buying local, if you're buying within your cultural group, because I will buy stuff that's Michigan based before I go buy stuff that's based out of another state because I'm trying to support my local business because I know that money is circulating locally versus it leaves a state and goes to someone 700 miles away.
Mm-hmm. All right. He explained that by saying he too invested in a community where they don't even value a man like himself. What's your response to that?
Okay, so you know what? Fine, but that's the decision I made. And if if people feel like that they don't want to value me, that's fine. The thing is, I know what I'm trying to do because I know that ultimately it affects me. So it's selfish in nature in a lot of ways. So you guys can bring this up here. Facing the wall. Yeah. Like I look at it, it's selfish in nature. I look at it as that when I do this certain things, I'm trying to prevent some guy from coming through my window. If that means I need to spend X amount of money with black people every year to stop someone from coming through my window, that's what I'll do.
Yeah. I don't understand that criticism that he's too invested. I mean, he's not hurting himself in anything that he's doing, so I don't understand. That's why
I don't think he was criticizing him. I think he was criticizing the community that doesn't value a guy like Christian. I think that's what he was criticizing. Like he was more so saying like Christian is kind of doing the right thing. You know what I mean? What he's doing is the right thing, but you're investing in a community that doesn't value men like you to the point where, and I guess I'm reaching to his point, you know what I'm saying? To the point where you're married to a non-black woman. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think Christian would invest in anything that wasn't going to reap him a benefit. I said one thing, let me just say this real quick and I'll pass it right back to you, Christian. One thing about the whole build the community thing, it won't look like how most black people think that it will look. It will basically look like the top 5%ers of black people owning big structures and big businesses, and everybody else will essentially be their labor that makes them more rich. I always use the Sam Walton from Walmart example. The Sam Walton, the guy who owns Sam's Club and Walmart, he wasn't thinking about community, even though he's created hundreds of thousands of jobs. He wasn't thinking about community. He was thinking, in order for me to be, I think he died the 7th richest man in the country at the time. In order for me to be this damn rich, I'm going to need foot soldiers that I'm going to pay minimum wage, most of them white. And he's sitting there outpricing everybody out the game, causing local hardware shops to have to close down because he's selling the same products for, damn near half the price. Like he was on some cutthroat business type shit. But at the end of the day, yeah, he provided hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs. So, that's kind of what it will look like. It don't we have this idea, this view that the community being built means that it's going to be parity amongst black people. No, the rich is going to get richer and the poor will get a job. Like
they think Wakanda though. They think Wakanda. Like honestly,
yeah.
they think Wakanda.
Well, I think what they're imagining is that when you have this infrastructure in place, they think it's going to be like now, where what happens is like I still have to go to the black community to get certain services. Like I cannot, or just to do certain things. Like, I mean, I could go to a non-black church, right? Or I could maybe find someone else to cut my hair, or I could maybe go play basketball or whatever at a place where there's no black people around. I could do that if I wanted to, but that's not something I want to do. But what's going to happen is you're just going to have a coalescing of those people, and there's still going to be separation. Like you're going to actually be further separated from what if you actually have that infrastructure in place. Like I mean, Bernard kind of knows where I live in Metro Detroit. Like the people, the upper class white people or Greeks or whatever in our neighborhood, they don't associate with lower class white people like that unless they're washing their car or something like that. I mean, they don't associate with them like that because they have no reason to. In the black community, we actually have a fairly flat structure because of the lack of infrastructure. People all have to kind of all are serviced by the same things.
Yeah. Car designer Chris in the building says support. Thank you for that $5 super chat. And also we got my man V Scott in the building says salute and much love to the folks from the D. Right on. Shout out to V Scott in the building. What else we got going on in here? SKC said something. He said, why doesn't Christian just go elsewhere? I barely even understand what he means by that. I don't think you limit yourself to black areas when you do real estate, or do you? I mean, what does he mean by that? Why won't you just go elsewhere?
No, I actually kind of don't. When I invest in a black area real estate, it's strictly for the point of gentrifying it. As bad as it sounds, I'll say it out loud. But if I'm investing into a black area, it's because I've done the calculation. I have the inkling that if you do a certain thing, you're going to be able to remove the poor people from the area, basically, and I'll be able to get value out of the property.
Okay, wait a minute. So you buying property value low in black neighborhoods, and then I guess you're either hoping that at some point those poor people move out, and then your property value goes up.
No, well, so what I do is I basically will look at where are the prime areas where non-black people stay right now, right? And I will see basically what does their, like, just say I'll look at something like a 2-bed 2-bath is $1,500, right? And it's 900 square feet and it's a mile away. What I'll do is I'll go find a property that is 1,300 square feet. I'll charge $1,000 and I will make it nicer than that property. So that way the people who would maybe be looking in that neighborhood would say, hey, I can actually go maybe 1 mile up and I can actually get a bigger place that's cheaper. Because I'm only trying to hook I'm only trying to build 2 or 3 units. And so then once you do that proves a proof of concept, and then other people come behind you and they start because a lot of people are sitting on property and they're not renovating it because they rent. Once they see they don't have to rent to poor people, because I just listed on Zillow, they say, oh, $1,000, I have to do Section 8, right? That's what they're thinking about. Well, when I prove I can get $1,000 in a market rate tenant, they say, well, I'll do that. And they'll renovate their places too. And then now here's where people start getting displaced who are in the renter class.
How are people getting displaced if you and the other people are just renting out places that weren't currently being rented? Hello?
It was $1,000, right?
Okay.
The only way you got the $1,000 market rate payer would pay $1,000 because they could go somewhere else and live. people when you say I'm going to do $1,000, which is in line with Section 8, but I'm not going to allow Section 8, you now effectively change who your tenant pool is actually. Okay.
Okay, so you're renting to so in other words, you're renting to white people.
No, you said no. I'm not renting to white people. I'm renting.
Okay,
But
just curious.
see, in Detroit, what happens is because Detroit's 82% black, what will happen is, and this is what happens: a black person will see how cheap it is, and they'll see how big the place is. They'll come by and they'll say, "Oh man, this is a nice place." They say it's $1,000, but they'll say, "Well, geez, I don't have to pay $1,000 for this. I can go two more miles away, and I can rent a whole house." Because you have to remember, in like a place like Detroit, where a black person is willing to live is different than where a non-black person is willing to live. So there's two different buying pools. You see what I'm saying? Like there's places that black people will live that non-black people will not live. Okay, but the price point will be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what drives the gentrification. But black people will refuse to basically pay the amount. So, for instance, I have a place like near downtown Detroit, like that one place I showed you, Bernard. I actually, when I first had that place, a lot of my initial tenants who came by to look at it were black. The prospects were black. That's where they wanted to live there, but they still couldn't get over the fact of I was going to charge, $800 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment that included all its utilities and everything, because they could go to another part of town and get the same and get a house for that same.
You're breaking up, Kristen. You're breaking up bad. Yeah, this was interesting. I'm mad that you're breaking up right here on this point, but I'm gonna pass it. Yeah. I don't know if you could do something to fix that. We'll come back to you, but if you could do something to fix the reception issue, that'd be great. SKC, go ahead. I think SKC is with me that I don't see gentrification as that huge of a problem, but I understand that I could very well be ignorant on that. I'll go and do some more research on it, but go ahead, SKC, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I don't understand it either. It just seems like when gentrification occurs, the area is improved, and when it doesn't happen, then the area stays stagnant.
Well, I think part of the argument, if I understand, go ahead, GC.
I mean, here's the thing about the improvement factor. I agree with you definitely, SKC. And the sad thing is, the area stays the same more or less. The people are just changed out, and as a result, the area improves. It's like
that's pretty much the same difference. You have people there that are willing to invest in not only their homes but also the surrounding area.
Exactly. But also the behavior of the people in it. Yeah, you have the companies that does the renovations from time to time, and yeah, granted. However, you now have people who practice lawn care and things like that, which brings overall value to the neighborhood. So it really says something about the state of the people that lived there before. What I'm saying is that they could have had a better neighborhood while they were there.
But okay, I guess it's splitting hairs, but I disagree in the thought that they couldn't, because
no, I said they
don't. Well, like I said, I think we're just splitting hairs, but I'll say that they couldn't have a better community because they don't have the same values.
Yeah, we are splitting hairs. I'm basically pointing out that they don't have the same values, and I'm saying that were they to get these values, that they would. We're agreeing to agree.
Yeah. It's like when you have. I was doing this little thing about Ian Rowe, and it's going to be a little bit out in the weeds, but it connects. I was talking to someone about the success sequence, and Ian Rowe was talking about it. He's an educator up in New York, and he was just saying, "Hey, the success sequence basically finish high school, get a full-time job. If you're going to have children, marry before you have children." And you have people that fight against something as basic as that. So if you're gonna have people that are gonna fight against something like that, yeah, obviously they're not gonna be able to upkeep a neighborhood.
Yeah, I run into that too. Those are the basics of what we're talking about. That just the basic sequence of how people build themselves up, and we want to often not. We want to fight that basic template because of it makes us people get in their feelings because they feel like we're talking about them or trying to degrade them in some sort of way.
Yeah, it just and that's why I was wondering to you. I don't know if you live in the same areas that you're investing in or not. I mean, I hope not, but it just seems as though if you have people that can't agree on very basic things, such as just taking care of their own home or the cleanliness of the area, lawn upkeep, different things of that nature. I'm like, what's the point of even investing in such people?
Well, that's why I'm saying, like when with like the gentrification concept, you're positioning yourself because you know that there's development basically coming up the line, right? So, like Bernard, where he's at, where like imagine this was 40 years ago, and this was well, imagine it's right now where he's at. People want to live in the heritage area of where he's at. It's called Heritage. I don't know if you know he lets you know where he is, but that's like the nice area of where he's at. But so they'll live in that area. Non What I'm talking about is people live somewhere because of they say, okay, that's viable. I'll live there. But they won't live 4 miles from there because they're like, no, that's not a nice area. I'll opt for another place that's in a different section, even outside of this city. That's what I'm talking about. That's how the gentrification game works. So if we were talking about, let's say, a New York City, right? What essentially was happening was people for a long time, it was if I lived in Manhattan, it had to be south of Central Park. But then as things gentrified, that area expanded. But the thing is, black people were willing to live up in Harlem or in the upper east side somewhere, like in East Harlem and places like that. They were willing to live there. But non-black people were not. They were saying, well, if I can't live south of Central Park, I'd rather just live out in in on Long Island or in Jersey or somewhere else. That's how gentrification works. Is these people are completely opting out of that market if they cannot get the prime area that they want.
So to your, I guess to your thoughts, why do you? I mean, are you finding success in the groups that you are or that you're renting to?
Yeah. I don't have missed payments. I'm having to evict someone right now, but that's not in one of my city Detroit properties, in one of my suburbs. But that's a different situation that's going on there. But um, yeah, I mean, you have success. The thing is, you have a way you score people, but the main thing is you're trying to fill a role in the marketplace, right? So I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm looking at larger stuff that's happening, and I'm trying to
Mhm.
attach myself to that. Like I'm not okay. So let's make this clear. I'm not this big time developer. So what I will do is, yes, say someone like Dan Gilbert or like what city are you in?
I'm in Houston, and I'm kind of like not in the exact same boat with you because I don't do the whole real estate thing, but we do have family property that was in a predominantly black neighborhood that has been gentrified, and now we
Yeah.
kind of own and manage it as a family.
Yeah,
But
so you say that Ferretta
yeah,
guy. So like
yeah,
the Ferretta guy, the guy who owns the Houston Rockets. You say he says, "Oh, I'm about to build an entertainment district over here in Houston," right? He announces it. Well, what I'm doing is I'm looking before it even gets announced. I'm looking at city council meetings or I'm looking in cranes where they're talking about different things going on, and you're trying to look for the
right.
tempo that they're getting ready to do it. And so what I'm doing is if they're doing that, I'm going to attach myself as close as I can to that to feed off of that.
And I get that. You're looking at like city plans and stuff that are maybe happening down the road 5-10 years and then trying to get ahead of the game. And I get that. I get that. I was just wondering if like your own domicile, are you doing that so far as you've put
Oh,
yourself and your family in
oh yeah, yeah,
an area where it's like, okay, we're just gonna have to hold
yeah.
on and hope nobody breaks in and all this other stuff while we try to make this money. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
bro,
that's
like,
what we did. Yeah, that's what we did. Actually, that's how we bought our first investment property. We bought a triplex. We bought a single family home that was like 6,000 square feet, and we cut it up into 3 units. And so we lived on the first and second floor, and then I rented out the third floor in the basement. And so, but what I did, but there was a medical school not far from the property, and so I targeted my tenants to be medical students and medical residents.
oh, okay, okay, okay.
I
I
mean,
mean, I get it, but I was just like,
I mean,
I was hoping that you weren't like, man, we got to go in this hood, and
I
and
mean,
I got my wife and my 2 kids, and a shotgun.
I mean, but the thing is, that's what you have to do, right? But the thing is, the neighborhood's flipped over. The neighborhood's completely flipped over at this point, right? But when we bought it, it was like, homes were selling for, you know, well under 50,000, well under $100,000. Like now homes go for over 800 or $1 million. So when we were buying our place there, our friends looked at us like we were crazy. They were like, "You're going to move where?"
Yeah, I know they did. I would have looked at you crazy because I don't know. I just look at it from the viewpoint of this. It's like, I understand the investment, and I understand that you took a logical risk in it, and all of that. The only thing I would have stated is okay, why not secure like a cheaper place? I don't know, away from all of that, and just have to do the travel to manage it, but to live in it and have your kids in it, like, I just yeah, man.
Well, I mean, we did some things to make sure we were not going to. First of all, so the area that we bought into, it didn't have Detroit police. It actually had its own police department. See, these are all things that when we were doing the purchase that I picked up on. So that way I knew the risk I was taking, right? And then we didn't have kids yet when we bought it. And then to hedge, when we bought that house, we bought another house a few months later. I mean, I explained to Bernard how that all happened, right? Like we bought
Oh
one house.
yeah.
So,
I heard all of that, and
yeah. So
I got you.
there was a semi game plan of how we went about doing it. But the main thing is when we talk about gentrification, the issue is that, like what Edward said, for me to do it, I have to come in with all cash and I have to go into my pocket. But then once you stabilize it, people can come in behind you and they get to use leverage and they get to use the benefits of the system because of underwriting guidelines. They get to use that. And so
how do you view that as unfair though?
I mean, well, because think about it, there was a whole group of people who were there before who didn't even have access to that because they were deemed not, the area was deemed not worthy for investment, right? And so now it is, and those same people, they necessarily don't get that access to that credit. Like that's where it's kind of weird. Like
my counter to that is this. You did your due diligence and you almost kind of like on the stock market, you went and done a lot of extra research that typically other investors don't do, and you took a risk, and it cost you a little bit more upfront in order to take this risk, but you reaped significant benefits. Now, some other people after you took the risk mimicked what you did, and because it has been known now and you have proven the model, now they're benefiting off of what you have proven. How is that unfair?
Because they get to do so at discount. When you start saying, when you put in the construct of race and class and how this just so happens to fall along racial lines, it shows you how look, I'm not saying it's racism. I'm not saying it's unfair. I'm saying it's a sliding scale. If cross burnings and hangings are a 10, okay, and microaggressions are 1. This is like a 4. This is like a 3 or 4. You know what? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's what
One
I'm
quick
saying.
question again, because I'm only gonna be a little bit. I wanted to ask, what's that? I think it's Mike and Vince Perkins. I think that's the guy up in the top.
I'm the Mike of Mike and Vince Perkins.
Oh, okay, Mike. Okay, glad to meet you, man.
Thank you.
The social contract thing. Why do you think that should be a I'm just wondering about the viability of it, because you have so many within the community that don't believe in things like a social contract, or that there should be standards. I mean, even if you go into the political realm, a lot of them feel as though America's everything is basically illegitimate. So
I get your point. I agree with your point. What I was trying to point out in a roundabout way is that the guys who talk about the pro-black people, the guys who try to have the come to the table conversation, the purple pill space, the and look, all of these people, they're not bad people. Like, the Lapeef Network, what I'm saying, Hello Future Wifey, Mr. Let Go, Obi Allen, or Allen Obi rather, they're not having the conversation about the social contract, and they're the ones talking about bringing the community together. That was my point in all of it. Like, if you're going to have a conversation about bringing the community together, well, that's the destination. That's fine. But you haven't said anything about what a social contract or an understanding looks like. So I don't think that and maybe they are coming to that. Maybe eventually they get to that, but they haven't even brought that up. And like Mr. Let Go, he's probably like 3 or 4 years in. Like it to me, it's just like they aren't talking about that. They're just trying to get their piece of the pie while they get it. I'm pretty sure that a lot of the these guys get, sure, since they're successful and they're visible, I'm sure a lot of women go over to them, and I want them to get as many women and followers as they can. They're not talking about a solution. That's the point. The point of it is that they're not talking about the most obvious thing, which is a social contract, a cultural understanding. And they're talking about bringing the community together. How funny is that?
And then this is a question. Maybe GC can answer it, or Christian. Those guys, you guys have listened to them much more than I have. I've only listened to them here on Bernard's show. They're bringing the community together based upon what?
So I think what their goal is, I think what their goal is, they want the women to air their grievances and put it into the air, and then us as men basically address their grievances and manage them. And that's what I think the expectation is. That's what so when they put that out there, it's almost like, okay, so these are my problems, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to address all your 5 things, and as I address these 5 things, then we're good now. That's I think what their idea is. Which
you're saying
hold on. That's one aspect of what that's what they do when they go on somebody else's channel. On their channel, they're addressing the grievances of the men in breaking down what the women are doing wrong. But when they come over here to us, they speak on behalf of the women. It's like a weird thing that they got going on. So I can't go, but I don't know.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Bernard. And like I said, you guys know way more about this than I do. It seems to me, or what I picked up from it, is it seems as though the formation or the coming together, the selling point is, we need to tell both parties what this white man has done to us and messed up our heads and relationships and sense of community and culture. And we need to galvanize around blaming the real enemy of why we're so jacked up. Am I wrong?
I
That's
think that
part of
that's part of
that's
it.
part of Obi. Obi definitely goes that route. Yes.
Yeah, historical context, as he says.
Yeah, yeah. Obi goes that route. I don't know how much. I mean, Mr. Lego kind of got into that when
Well-
I was talking to him, but I don't know how deep he goes with that. But Obi does dig deep into that one. Yes.
So I want to answer SKC's question when he says, what should we build the community around? I think that the answer is clear, and both of the parties said it, and indirectly. And I only watched them on Bernard's too. I may have seen like a couple of clips of both of them outside of that, but that was after Bernard's. So the majority of what I know about them is on Bernard's. What they want to build the community around is desperation. They essentially wish to build a community around desperation and thirst. Simply put, they're saying that the woman has the pussy. And if you want the pussy, you must give her everything she wants under her terms. And the resulting byproduct of that is the community. She will monopolize the community from you, meaning that you can only retrieve it through her. And she will monopolize sex through you and everything else you want. Basically, because she can get welfare. So she don't need you, but you need her. That should put you in a perpetual scarcity mindset of which you should use to build a community around. So
I think that is a fair assessment of what Let Go was saying on my channel. I don't think Obi would say that. But he has his things that he says that I got some disagreement with, but I can't pin that one on him. But Mr. Let Go did verbatim, more or less, pretty much say what you said right there. Sodomy and Chicken in the building. He says the only people that need to worry about gentrification are poor people. For the most part, gentrification is a good thing. I have a question about this gentrification. It's a slight segue. It's gonna sound like I'm slightly trolling, so but I'm just curious. Do like the white people who gentrify black neighborhoods, those white people, do they ever gentrify poor white neighborhoods? And do we even call it gentrification, or do we just call it them just
development?
Well, gentrification is really has an ethnic connotation. It means that when you're destroying
what happens to those poor white people when wealthy white people go to building Starbucks and tall condos, like
homeless?
No, they drive their trailer to another park.
You mean to tell me they just move?
I mean, well, you remember Independence Day when the aliens was coming and it was a bunch of trailers just going out?
Hold on.
I think that's what they do. I think it's just like I heard of trailers.
Wait a minute. We just got down to the bottom of why I don't think gentrification is a good thing. If white real estate developers go and build a bunch of tall 10-story condos and some Starbucks and some shit around poor white people, and then the property value goes up, and then that causes the rent to have to go up, and all of this stuff goes up, and now these poor white people can't afford to live there. What happens is they move. They find another poor white neighborhood to live in. I don't necessarily think that's a tragedy. Like, that's why I don't understand why gentrification is a problem.
Well, it's funny because I joke about the trailer park thing. However, it's funny because of the way Black people wound up where we wound up and why we are where we are. Black people tend to congregate in major cities that consist of about 300,000 people or more, and that was due to the Great Migration when people went to these cities to work. People went to Oakland. My people went to Oakland to work for Henry J. Kaiser in the shipbuilding industry. And your people, Bernard, I'm assuming, and Mike's people, I'm assuming, family migrated to work in the automotive industry. They're in Detroit, and same with the ports of Baltimore, and the ports of New York, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they moved to these places to work, essentially. And as a result of that work, those places became extraordinarily wealthy. Now, what's happening now is the subsequent generation said, you know, something, my grandfather worked for Ford Motor Company or what have you, but I'm not going to do shit. And so everything that they built as far as their labors producing and bringing wealth to the city itself through taxes and other means and purchases and things like that. So everything that was built in these major cities, you know, that built places like Silicon Valley and things like that, the results of that was not really passed down to the children of the people who worked for it, because those children felt that they didn't have to any longer. So, yeah, I think that there's a sense of entitlement. Like, you know, I deserve to live in the most expensive places because I'm the reason that it's more expensive.
All right.
No, not travel to the Americas, Omega. What I mean is traveled from the South.
Yeah.
It's
I
called
know
the
what you
Great
meant.
Migration. They traveled from the
Yeah.
South to major cities in order
Yeah.
for job opportunities, which they did take and they did work.
Yeah. That's a very, very common thing. Most families up here, if you know, trace their history, it normally ends up back to the South. And at one point, somebody granddad said, you know, fuck this shit, I'm out. And then he moved to Michigan and got a job. And, you know, most of them went back and got, well, I ain't getting into that. The stories of some people went to Michigan, came up this way, and then never went back and got their family. But a lot of families moved. A lot of families moved up here. A lot of family moves up here from the South. But yeah. So I didn't mean to segue us back into gentrification.
So the reason why, I just want to say the reason why it's affecting Black people disproportionately is because we live on prime real estate.
What do you mean?
Oakland is prime real estate. Make no mistake about it. Like, because of its proximity to San Francisco, San Jose, and, you know, other places in the Silicon Valley, Detroit is prime real estate.
That's what I was about to say. Because it's
Yeah.
being close to water, the ports, like all of that stuff. It is crazy how Detroit is occupied. You know, Christian probably said it correctly. 82% Black. At one point in time, it was 90. It's like it's crazy how that most of the city is Black, but then most of it is owned by Dan Gilbert and the Illich family, like the real stuff. It's owned by those two guys. I mean, I think it's a third family that's in there. If you know,
yeah. There's a guy who actually lives down the street from me. It's him and his brother are like the second biggest landowners in the city of Detroit. He owns all the stuff out in the hood and all that stuff. Is
his last name is it Shakur or Shakur or something like that?
Oh, no, that's not him. He lives in. There is three big land. Well, no, there's the Maroons, there's Illich, Gilbert, and then there's a guy. Him and his brother bought up when they bought up stuff just over the last 20, 30 years. Like, and these are just some regular dudes. They just were buying up stuff, and they're I mean, I'm not saying they're my role models because they have some pretty nasty properties. But when Chrysler built that new plant in the city of Detroit, Chrysler had to cash them out because they held so much land in that area. They had to cash them out in order to build that plant because they couldn't get the plant built without them selling.
Over there, I think was it Kercheval, like almost there, like the east side, like that.
Yeah. That's just like a regular dude that you would see walking around in Kroger, who owned all that stuff.
Wow.
Hey, Mike. Again, on that social contract thing, that was my original reason for even coming up here. That's why I was telling Bernard earlier I wanted to jump in on the conversation because I thought it was interesting, and it goes back to a very harsh criticism that I had for the community at the top of the year. Okay, so and I'll just walk it in there, ease it in there. I know some people are on the whole biblical side of things, and then you have other people that say, no, look at the evolutionary model of everything. So taking the evolutionary model for the people that go with that argument and they say, all right, this is what happened, and then we get to where humanity is right now. Well, in order to get away from the jungle style of dealing with one another in this animalistic way, what was required in order to build communities?
Are you asking me that question, or are you like,
Uh-huh.
is it rhetorical? What was required? I I'm trying to.
A social contract.
Oh, well, yeah. A social contract. Yeah, of course.
So if you're missing a social contract, are you truly a community?
That is a great question, and that is a no. That's why.
And if you're missing a social contract, then are you truly behaving like a civilization?
Well, so there's a black social contract that black people actually need, but we do have an American one. You know what I mean?
But do black people abide by the American social contract?
Yeah, they do, or bad things happen.
That's the law.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the law. I mean,
SJC is talking about something different.
well, what would be an idea of a social contract or a social understanding?
It's an unspoken set of rules that people have between each other. Kind of like if you're getting out of an elevator and a person is coming into the elevator, it's a social contract that says the person that's getting out goes first.
Yeah, like like I'm good one, game changer. But those things exist in American culture to where like it's just we abide. Black people abide by American social culture for the most part. You know what I mean? Like there's not really a thing like, like something as simple as like there's no real like, well, I mean, I can't even say tipping because black people are notoriously
and I laugh because even if you go down to something on the smaller scale like that, you're like, dang.
See, I set myself up there.
Yeah.
But my point is that the understanding is there. There is some adherence to, what I'm saying, the American social contract. I do agree, however, with your point of the community, black community does not have a social contract. Thus, is it really even even a community? And I agree. But that, like I say, that's most of my point. Like what the other creators that are like anti-SYSBM, anti-manosphere, or anti the talking points, but they use them, whatever. What they're missing is that they haven't even scratched the surface on a social contract. And look, I'll even go so far as to agree that maybe black people aren't adhering to American culture. They're not tipping, for example, the 20% in gratuity that is necessary. Or maybe they're on an elevator and somebody's coming and they just look at them like, to hell with that. Maybe we're the community is not adhering to that. Then we have a bigger issue that they're still not addressing.
Well, I'll even say that in some portions of the black structure or the community, that many find their identity in fighting against American culture.
Yep.
Go ahead, GC.
Define it.
No, I was going to say that they only follow any given social contract when it's to their benefit or they are forced to do so, hence the law. But typically speaking, there are a lot of people who, like SKC was saying, pride themselves on not following the social contract. They think that it makes them, bad boy, renegade, rogue, radical, or what have you. Whatever this whole bad means good thing is, they take a certain pride in that. Kind of like littering and stuff like that. There's a certain belief that we are doing something right. We are bucking an oppressive system.
May I add to that, GC? What I'm seeing on the horizon is a group of people who are trained via the universities or in various trades, who are going with this mindset of not on the thought of wanting to be a thug or blah 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 blah, but they do not believe in being a part of the American social contract and are formulating these grassroots movements based around that black people need to be something absolutely different from American customs.
Well, they do. They want to maintain their independence of, the American social structure because it creates a solidarity, and that's what they're hoping for. You have the ones who plan to code switch, meaning that they step both in and out of both cultures. But make no mistakes, the culture that America, that particularly the American Black woman is making, is to isolate the American Black men. They have no problem code switching and then, being a part of the white corporate structure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they expect anything you do that resembles code switching is white, Uncle Tom, sellout, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is so that you behave in a way that's so repulsive to other cultures that you will not be accepted by those cultures. And the only culture that would accept you is hers if she chooses to accept you. That's a way to isolate and leverage you. It would be the equivalent to me telling a friend, don't bathe, and then, go and get all the women from, a club or, a singles event or something like that. It's a setup.
It puts you in the same proverbial situation that they're in with the 92% of black women. Black women choosing black men in 92%, but it's like they make it a loyalty thing versus an actual lack of options thing. You know what I mean? It puts us there when we adhere to the bad boy not being able to code switch, thuggery, shiny belt buckle deal.
I just have questions because of the whole coming together thing is an odd it's an odd play, but particularly in 2022 I'm like, good grief. But without a social contract, as you were stating, and if you're gonna unite over the thought of we just need to be together because of the evil white man, or what did you say, GC?
Desperation.
Based upon desperation, we got. GM.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at, SKC. I mean, we're all we got because we culturally isolate ourselves deliberately. You see, other cultures, let's just say the Orientals, they understand that when in Rome, you do as the Romans thing. That's why, when they are in China, their name is Chen Cheng Chu, but when they come to America, it's Robert.
Right.
But even though we've been here for generations, over 150 years, emancipated, we still choose to isolate our names, so, oh no, just call me Dion Laquavius. So we generally try to isolate ourselves deliberately because there are people who wish to benefit from that isolation within the culture. I got to head out. But Bernard, if you're there, thanks for having me, bro. Greatly appreciate you. Can't hear you.
Are you about to go live?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You got your link ready?
Yeah, let me get it ready.
Yeah, drop that in the chat, and we'll go ahead, and because I've been distracted and busy and taking calls and doing all kind of shit on y'all. So I'm about ready to get off the air anyway. So while you get that link ready, I'll read these last couple of super chats. Sodomy and Chicken in the building. He says, you're not going to get a social contract because the B-dub doesn't need you like they did in previous generations. They do not want the nuclear family. And then those are the ones that would be if some type of social contract was to be established, those will be the ones that would be excluded out of the. It would be a separation. It would be a separation. Not every.
How?
Well,
I'm sorry,
I mean,
you said
social
how?
contracts aren't
Yeah,
enforceable.
yeah. I have a really big question now because take for instance, like what was being proposed earlier. Okay, these will be the women that are being excluded from blah 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 blah. But if you are still wanting a quote unquote, black everything, some of those people that are would be excluded, those are sisters
So what?
to other people that are getting together. They're
So what?
cousins to people who are getting together.
So what?
So
There's hold on. There's white people with their head on straight that are successful and are doing things that make sense, and they got some trailer park cousins. So what?
Yeah, that's the thing and that's the question again. I SKC, it from your energy, I agree with your energy. Like how? That's the point of it all, though. Like there's going to be casualties. The guys who are talking about actually, which I'm not one of those guys, by the way, just to make you understand that I'm not one of those bring the community together guys. Okay, let me put that on the table.
yeah, I mean the reason why I ask how is because you go and you start reading things and people say white flight all the time, but my parents were part of the black flight group
Black
that
flight happens every time. Soon as black folks get a good enough job to not live in the hood, they get the hell out the hood. And they go integrate into get sprinkled around into other white neighborhoods. I personally like it when middle or upper middle class black people end up gradually coalescing together in the same neighborhood. I think because I do like to see neighborhoods functioning neighborhoods with black people that's doing something with their life, that so we can say there's a black community that look like it's doing
right, but part of
normal
that,
shit.
but part of that, but part of that move was is that
before you go,
when we moved, so and so can't come, they can't visit us no more.
So yeah, I'm going to I have a show after this, so I got to get to that. SKC, Mike, Bernard, y'all welcome to come. It's really kind of on this topic where it talks about a woman who broke the social contract as it pertains to giving up some ass. So you're welcome to participate, and if you want the link, come on through. But yeah, if you fly a woman out, is it part of the social contract that she sucks your dick? So stay tuned for that. And yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So the link is in the link is in the chat room.
There's a link right there on the screen. RM moderators, copy and paste that link, spam it out. Don't, when y'all leave here, don't just X off of the screen. Click that, let that be your exit out the door when y'all get out of here. So all right, so yeah, peace GC.
With that other thing, Bernard, just let me know when you want to chat about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that pretty much right afterwards. But where was we at? eBlack TV. Yeah, absolutely do a follow-up video on this. I can't find your super chat. There it is right there. Shout out to eBlack TV. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate your support. Says great subject. Can I do a response video to this tomorrow? Absolutely. Didn't have to ask, but I appreciate you asking and appreciate the super chat. All right. Yeah, see, SKC, I think you are kind of reaching to find a reason why black people can't do it.
No, I'm not reaching. I'm just asking,
because obviously black people who are thinking along this mind that there's no social contract, and by social contract, Mike referred to at the beginning of the show, he's talking about Indians that are over here in America. They have a social contract that's off the record and off the books, that even if the laws in the states and the laws in the country don't really line up with what they're doing their own thing off the books practically. That's how strong their social contract is. Can people go rogue and do their own thing and live within the framework of this American system? Of course. So if black people try to establish some type of social contract of some sort, because Keisha and them still doing their own thing, that only affects it if you have that, not just an all black mentality, but an everybody black, everybody who's black is in mentality. Then that's where the nonsense comes in. But the people who are thinking next level on establishing a social contract, I would assume they have already dropped the everybody under the tent notion and mentality.
Yeah, I think there would be no such thing as we got to marry some of these baby mamas for the community. That wouldn't exist. You know what I mean? On no level. You know what I mean?
Okay, I mean, I understand the argument, but a lot of those social contracts that come from those other groups of people have long been established, and I'll add that there's countries, religions, and even blood that has been spilled to solidify those social
Yeah,
contracts.
but you're talking about SYSBM essentially trying to establish some type of new social contract. So
Not new, embed in things that have already been created.
well, yeah, so I think we're talking about the same thing, but you're saying that it's baked into the cake that we have to carry the dead weight. That's what you're saying. Because it is baked into the cake to SYSBM that y'all wouldn't have to carry the dead weight, because you're assuming that, you know, the men who have already going that route already have a certain mindset, and then you're getting women from other cultures who don't have that hood mindset. Then it's like
You have to, it's on you to have to learn bits and portions of that culture, and to a certain extent there's going to be certain points where the guy is going to have to let go of some I would say cultural mores that um that come from said community, if you want to truly do it, because they're incompatible with the social contracts of those cultures.
I would agree. The only thing that I'm actually, like I said, the only thing I'm actually saying, and I agree with everything you're saying, SKC. The problem is that the guys, like, I'm not one of those guys that are saying like bring the community together. Like, I think the only way that it survives is really, you know, there's going to be casualties, and I'm not saying literal death, but like in some cases, you know, literal death. You know what I mean? But those guys who are really, really, you know, the even we can go so far as to say Umar Johnson, you know what I mean, you know, Boyce Watkins, any of those guys, they're not presenting any kind of social contract. They're not presenting even a financial social contract. Nothing. They're just saying we need to come together. They're not presenting anything that says you have to adhere to these 8 or 9 tenets. If you don't, you out.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing that. And they need to do that if they're really serious. But what I find is that most of them are not serious, because, I mean, why wouldn't that be the first thing? Like, people say anything they want to say about SYSBM. You got 20 tenets. Like, you do have tenets that says this is what we're about. So you can say what you want. They at least have you're in it if you're doing this, and you're not in it if you're not doing this. So those are tenets. You can have a community based on tenets or a contract. You know what I mean? But it's not law. You didn't go to America and say, hey, America, look, this is what we're doing. You just said these are the actual tenets, and we're going to follow this. That's beautiful. We can't have that here because, you know, we're dealing with
it's a tough situation, and I understand it, and I don't like even I'll say this to Bernard. It's like I'm not, you know, all doom and gloom with the whole thought of, oh man, I want it to fail. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the issues of connecting to families and all of that, those are serious hurdles that are issues, because one of the major, I remember having this conversation with Obsidian once, where he was like, he had a show and he was saying, oh man, the SYSBM dudes, you know, how is this going to work with family? And, you know, I was telling him like, hey, it got to a point where you have to cut some things off. The cookout, I haven't been in the cookout in 13 years. So it's like it is what it is. It's like, no, I'm not going to put my wife and my kids in that type of arena around the extended family. If they want to associate with my family, fine, but it's going to be on my domain under my rules. So
Okay.
I just don't. I kind of wonder when it comes to the community. It's like, I've seen so many times just dealing with like with renters and all this stuff. You'll have a good family to come in and they'll sit down and blah 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 blah, and then, hey man, what happened with this fencing and such and such? Oh yeah, such and such. Hey, I saw them. They had a party over, and some of their cousins told this up and blah. And I'm like, why'd you have these fools over?
Mm.
If you're trying to start over and do something new and live in a better environment, why are you still associating with these people that you know is gonna bring the craziness?
Right.
Why?
I agree.
Well, that's family. That's that's little Don Quavy. We got to look out for him because that's our people.
Yeah, it'd be funny. Y'all be making
And those people that you're talking about right there, those are not people who are properly seeing the problem, even though they're doing well themselves. They're not properly seeing the problem. So yeah, but that wouldn't necessarily be included. That wouldn't necessarily be included. But I know I do see what you're saying. I'm trying to find. I can't find that comment. Never mind. It's gone. It's gone. But all right. Yeah, I got to wrap this up. Y'all head on over to Game Changers channel. Y'all head on over there. Mike, I'd like to thank you. Thank you once again, man. Did an excellent job. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Mike. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to Mike and Vince Perkins, MVP. Make sure y'all subscribe to them. And man, I done got tired. I don't think nobody hit the cash up. But thank you to everybody who super chatted, liked, shared, subscribed, supported any way, shape, or form. Subscriber count been on the rise. I got 11,061 subscribers. Thank you to everybody new in the building. Appreciate each and every one of you. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Peace. We gone.